curtain about to fall. We're gonna open your eyes so you can see who you're gonna call if you wanna be free. GLOBEBUSTERS! 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 Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Yeah! GLOBEBUSTERs! GLOBEBUSTERs! GLOBEBUSTERs!
And welcome everybody to GLOBEBUSTERS. We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
And welcome everybody to GLOBEBUSTERS episode number 10-4. Over and out. It is season 10, episode 4. And we are talking about changing the facts, as some people in the science world seem to do quite often. Rather than to adjust the theory, let's just change the facts. So we'll talk a little bit about that quote, whether it's a misattribution, other quotes that are misattributions. And then we will talk about how this is their direction, it seems to be. We have your host, Jeran, from Jeranism. I'm here. I'm present, accounted for. And we have Austin off this week. And I believe Era might be here, but he'd be a little bit late. And we've got Good Times for All, Zachary's the ball. Zach, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeran. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
You know
How are
what
you doing this week?
Doing okay. You know what's terrible is globe Earth jokes. Like, they are the worst jokes. Like, Flurfs is just stupid. I don't even really get it. That's one. What other jokes do you ever hear them tell? Like the one that, if the Earth was flat, the cat would have pushed it off the edge already. It's like, that's the best that you have. And I see it in comment sections still. Like, people still leave that joke as if it's hilarious. Bothers me that they think that's funny. I did look up what you said. So right before the show, you were talking about Madonna being flat Earth, and then I searched it, didn't see anything. But then I do see a video by Martin Leakey 20 hours ago that says Madonna goes flat.
Yeah, that's what I saw, and it was a long one. I was just trying to go through to see where she was talking about it or whatnot, but I didn't find anything.
Yeah, it's like a 3.5 hour video. I don't know how we could find necessarily where that would be in there. If anybody knows, let us know. We could bring that up. I mean, obviously she's not the foremost of the scientific authorities, but it's always interesting when you get these celebrities to start speaking out about it. Again, just seeing what happened with B.O.B., people I don't think realize how much of a catalyst he was in pushing this out to a wider audience. And nobody's saying he's a scientist or anything, but
not unheard of too. He did it. I mean, when Rampage Jackson said it, I thought it was going to be more of a rumph about that, but I didn't see it anywhere in mainstream media about them talking about, another famous person thinks the Earth is flat, and here's Neil deGrasse Tyson on why he's wrong.
And then he says something completely wrong himself. Yeah, it's incredible how much, and the reason I also called this Change the Facts is because I do think we need to start to, or at least I'm going to, really push hard at these guys, because what I've seen lately is in asking, FTFE or McToon, hey, what do you have to say about Stephen Hawking faking his experiment? What do you have to say about Nat Geo creating a optical illusion? What do you have to say about Behind the Curve lying about my experiment? Like, this is your guys' chance to shine. This is your opportunity to win this debate. You have the platforms that we don't have. We don't have the ability to do a PBS special that's seen by millions of people. We can't do that. And we can't do a Nat Geo special seen by millions of people. And we can't do a movie that gets picked up by all these various film festivals and gets shown on Netflix. We can't do that. You guys can. And yet every time the opportunity is given to you, you use lies and deception to push your model. Which,
even if a Flat Earth video had 100,000 views in one day, you could type in Flat Earth today, and it would not pop up for probably the first 5-6 pages, if it even popped up at all. Yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, it's uphill, and it's like, so I wanted to know, what do these guys think of it? And you know what their answer is every time is, we don't care. That's exactly what they say. We don't care because the Earth is a globe, and so the mentality of, obviously, those channel owners, which by extension becomes pretty much the mentality of all their viewers, is that lies are okay when it serves your purpose, right? When it, the end result is what you're shooting for. And again, people may have different opinions about whether those guys really believe what they're saying or not. The end goal remains the same, which is that they get to be seen as some sort of authority, or that they get to be seen as the ones that are right. And I just noticed that when we talk to these real scientists, like Professor Parks or whatever, those guys, they can't lie. It's bad for their reputation. It's bad for their credentials. But the people on YouTube, they can lie all day. They don't care.
Stop. I'm trying to do a show, man.
What? Oh, you're not muted. I don't know if you're talking to me. And what is it? I'm sorry, reading this real quick here. At least I know this. Oh, so they have done a pretty much like a campaign against all of us. And, people like Simon Dan, zero content. There's no information coming out of there. It's just make fun of flat earthers. So hopefully we start to, and I know I'm somebody who's guilty of it, but we start to really ignore the liars, ignore the people that are doing this for clicks or doing this for clout or whatever they think they're doing, because they're not into it for the truth. And that's really what we should all be here for. And we should all be growing, and we should be getting more refined with our arguments. I know some people have issues with the Debatism show on my channel, but I do think it's good whether or not, even if a flat earther gets demolished, it doesn't change the reality of the situation. It doesn't change the reality of where we're at. And I think anybody can grow from that and learn, oh, my arguments aren't very good in that section or in that department. I need to kind of clean up my act as far as that goes. So for me, who's not afraid, because look, I've been doing this, and I don't even want to say now, it's sad to even think. It's at least 8 years, right? Since 2015. So let's say 8 years. Okay, it's 9. All right, let's say 9 years. So it's doing this 9 years, and they have brought nothing. So it's not surprising, or shouldn't be surprising to people, if I don't really foresee them bringing anything ever. Because they've had 9 years, and they've had these opportunities, and they've had a PBS special that's supposed to show you the shape of the Earth. Nat Geo is going to show you the shape of the Earth. Behind the Curve, going to make a documentary about the curve. What about SpaceX? Going to do a live stream for their, and all these people get away with things that nobody else can get away with, which is just outright fabrication. There should be a worldwide, I say that, but it's like never going to happen. But I mean, there should be a concerted effort from humanity that when we find a scientific television program like PBS, like Genius, like Stephen Hawking, who's lying to people, then we need to, as a human group, stand up and say, hey, you can't lie on your show. But we don't do that. And it's because the Globers accept it. They don't care. They don't care which way you prove the globe. And I think that's a sign of it being a religion for atheists to me. Because I really do think if you look at like all the people who have come to the flat earth, what do you think about this, Zach? Do you think that a majority of people who have come to flat earth were religious people who either they were religious at the time or weren't no longer, but then saw the flat earth and it was kind of their way back to the creator, their way back in, like, okay, wait a second, I do see something now. Like, I don't think that the people that are stuck in the globe are there because they have already turned their back on religion completely. They've adopted atheism and they hate the idea that anything would upset that, right? And flat earth does upset that. Flat earth immediately erases atheism.
Oh, in a way. Because all these other thoughts come in with it. Even if, the creator is this benevolent being that's going to forgive all of our things and all that stuff, there's still that idea that there's something bigger and greater than me that might be judging me one day. And now I'm going to have to answer for all these things that I've done.
Right.
And I think that scares a lot of people. It really does. I know when I went from being an atheist to, realizing that there was a creator, I started bawling my eyes out, just apologizing.
Yeah. It's so funny. Just real quick, I have to tell you, I'm sitting here reading the chat and I didn't realize I'm on Martin Leakey's video. So I'm just looking through the chat. I don't recognize anybody. And I'm like looking what they're talking about. I'm like, they don't even care about this show. I'm like, they're not even mentioning us. They're not even talking about us. I was like, what is going on? What does any of this mean? And then I look over, it's Martin Leakey's video. This chat's playing and this. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. All right, now I see. Let's get back to the right show. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. which is funny. I just was like, okay, now I recognize some of these people. All right, Melodom's in the house. Thank you. Exposing Mosh Tricks is here. Welcome. It was a little bit, it was crazy there for a second. Exposing Mosh Tricks is here. Thank you for that. URC gifted a membership from Matthew D. Gregorio. Thank you very much for that. Elohim's Medicine in the house, also getting a membership gifted by Matthew D. Gregorio. Lisa's here. Lisa, thank you. I was a little bit nervous at first. Cat Lady Forever. Lori's here. Hi, everyone. What's up, G-Shell? How are you? Hopefully you're doing well. Let me pop this out so I can see this and try to cover any donations in real time. Let's do that today, shall we? And let's see. And here I do think is coming in a little bit. And I want to show a couple things, but nothing real major. And then I think we're going to take some calls today. If we get to hour number 3 and we are done talking about our subject, then I'm going to open the phone lines. We'll take an hour of phone calls just if anybody's got anything they need to say. Jeran, cool. How's you? I'm doing great. Swift Daddy 299. Benny Boy in the house. What up, Benny? Good guy there, Benny. Let's see here. And Benny's fairly new too, I think. We've got who else is there? No longer on the ball. Welcome. How's the wiki going? I haven't looked at it lately. I want to show one thing here. Let me show this, and then we can also get to, and maybe, I don't know if you've already included Chris Pastor's link page in your wiki. If not, you should. Let's see here. Let's go over here. I want to show you this. So Chris Pastor put together, and by the way, also No Longer on the Ball is putting together a wiki page, which anybody can edit. So if you're interested in doing that, if you've got some free time, that's where people in the community that maybe have always looked for something they can help with, that would be a huge help. If we had a central hub where we put things, where we put documents, where we put references, where we put channel names, that would be huge. And maybe if you want to come on the show and talk about it, no longer on the ball, you can message me on Telegram, and I should see it here in a second. But I want to show this first. Let me share this screen over here. All right. Nope. Let's get this up there. Okay. So this is the, you can see it there. This is a paste bin is what it's called. And you can just basically, it's a place where you paste things and then you can share the link so people can all see it. But this is a comprehensive, let me move it over so you can see it a little bit. That's not lined up. Let's go this way. There we go. All right. So we've got the start of this paste bin is 5 presentations for those new to Flat Earth. So this is a great resource to have where you can basically go here right away. If you need a link to give somebody or you need something quickly, you've got these 5 presentations that are great to start. Taboo Conspiracy, and then one from Witsitgetsit, a Schooling Globers, episode number 20. And then you've got a History of the Globe Deception, and you've got a GLOBEBUSTERS episode here. GLOBEBUSTERS Live, you've got the True Earth 101 shorts. So you got a History of the Globe Deception, on motion, on the unifying expression, on curvature. You've got Disproving the Space Vacuum with a Single Experiment. This is the Parabox, which basically, and we can watch that real quick because I don't think another thing people just don't get. Oh, who was I watching? I was watching a Sovereign Citizen the other day, and he had like a guy on that was basically debating him. And it was hilarious to see this guy hit this wall where they try and describe the thinning of the atmosphere. And they say, oh yeah, but it's a gradient, and then it goes to the vacuum. And like the fact that they don't understand that doesn't work is like part of the revelation that this is a religion for them. It does not work that you would just have a thinning out of atmosphere into a vacuum. That's not how it works, because you can never have pressure next to no pressure. So
I know it's no different than there's some other flat earthers that have, they're insistent that there is no downward vector because, these gases aren't affected by electrostatics. It's like, yeah, but there's a gas pressure gradient. So according to the laws of, thermodynamics, it should all be equal. If we're in an enclosed system and there is no force acting upon the system, then the gas pressure should equalize throughout the system. But it doesn't.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah, it's in constant motion, right?
There's more to it than just, you can't have gas pressure without a container, and you can't have a gas pressure gradient without some force acting upon that gas. Period.
Yeah, so it gets to be this difficult kind of position to where these guys have to keep arguing that gravity is somehow the one, though, that's holding on to this air. And we can disprove that, and we've shown it with just the let me actually bring this up here. And it would be nice if these were clickable. Obviously, on Pastebin, they're not clickable, but that's why I think putting them on the wiki would be great. Let me go here. And we will watch this part quickly, just to give you, if you've not seen it before, why we can say that they're it cannot be gravity that's holding the air to the Earth.
Is a smaller box.
Let me go there.
A little test with a vacuum chamber. Okay, we've got a vacuum chamber, and inside that vacuum chamber is a smaller box, if you will, with a sealed top, and we have air in that as well. So we've got a vacuum chamber. It's got a vacuum, or it's got air right now inside of it, and so does the box sitting at the bottom. You'll see we'll pop open the front of this, and you will see the box inside of it. Let's go 3D modeler. All right, there you go. You've got basically air inside this box and the box inside of it. Only this box inside we've got sealed. So right here we've got a sealed top. We've got air floating about in here. And we are going to go ahead and start the vacuum here in a second and suck the air out of our vacuum chamber. Remember, the vacuum chamber is on Earth. Okay? It's not in space. It's not anywhere. It's on the ball Earth. And we suck out the air from the chamber. There goes the air. And we'll notice that this box remains sealed because there's still air in this box. Okay? And then we get all the stuff out of there. Get out of there. Now, we can see inside the small box, we have the molecules of air, and we electronically peel open the box. Now, we know one of two things will happen. Either A, these gas particles will enter into the vacuum and disperse amongst the vacuum. Why? Well, because high pressure goes to low pressure, and because that's the way life works. Or will this box of air stay down because of the pull of gravity? Okay? Now, nobody would answer anything other than, of course, what do we think happens? The gas will fill that space. Okay, the gas will disperse into the vacuum, not that long and right after, but there you go. The gas will take out of the box and become part of this vacuated system. Now, that alone disproves their entire model. Okay, this one experiment, this one thought experiment, if you will, disproves it because they tell us that the reason that the atmosphere stays attached to the Earth and doesn't go off into space is because of gravity. So if gravity is strong enough to hold the entirety of the atmosphere, everybody think of wherever you're at right now, think that there's a column above your head of a tremendous amount of atmosphere that goes all the way up to 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 feet or more as it disperses and gets less and less and less until it hits the vacuum. But gravity, they tell us, is holding that air to the Earth. So if that were true, then gravity would hold the air in this little box to the Earth. End of story, period. And they can't say, oh, but Jeran, it's a gradient up to the vacuum of space. Okay. Well, then the things that are closest to the vacuum would go into the vacuum and the vacuum would lower itself. Do you understand? It's not like the vacuum is up there and then the Earth is separate from it. It exists in the vacuum. There is no barrier on the globe Earth. If you've got no barrier,
especially, hello everyone. I don't know if you
Meru, what's up? We hear you. Sorry.
Hello guys, I'm back in my origins in Argentina. And especially, for example, we can add to this simple animation the equivalent of the rocket going out and breaking the equilibrium barrier, if you want. So imagine that when it closes, it's sealed, you start making little holes in that barrier. Before even, start this idea, I mean, the heliocentric model, all the time, they are creating little holes, and we can add also the ozone hole and all the stories that they're inventing. We can
thought about that, yeah.
To trying to break the barrier with the Dominic operation and things like that. So at that time, we must be, destroy the Earth and the heliocentric model.
Don't you
with
think
all the things that they done into the upper atmosphere.
Right, they're just poking holes in it, and The thing that's funny to me is that this is where I think we need to focus, because we end up getting on other subjects and talking about other things. But there are some things like this that disprove the entirety of their model. It's gone.
Yes.
It can't even exist.
Yeah.
So,
and this is better than trying to prove that the water curves, in the outside of a container, because that is difficult, and you can give away that we don't have the scale to model the entire Earth, blah blah blah. But this is completely destroy the model.
Yeah, I think it destroys it completely. And the way you know when these things happen is when they deny reality, right? So when these guys deny outright, first of all, another one for me is they keep saying that refraction causes light to bend down, which I won't disagree necessarily. But then they say, and so we see the item higher, which is like, well, what do you mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about here? Do you get that one too?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'll show you.
And in fact,
go ahead.
And especially because they trying to mimic with the Bhutan tank experiment, they cheated. They make everything trying to match the observation, and still in that observation they are not using the correct setup, for example. But in the Spanish community, we are still waiting for a real proof in using real conditions of a small scale, trying to mimic the atmosphere, doing this phenomena that, the objects lift up and to the horizon line perfectly without any distortion, just for you to see, because, the Earth is curved, but the nature wants to cheat you all the time.
Yeah, I think it is. That nature is the answer, and yet
it's the devil. Nature is the devil. It's all the time trying to break your mind.
What's going on, everyone? I just wanted to show this one more time because, again, and if I'm getting this wrong, then they need to possibly explain it. Let me bring this over here. It's a little too large. This one? There. Nope. This one? Oh, no. All right. Well, it's going to have to work. Let me go here and hold on. I got to shrink this a little bit so you guys can see it, or else we don't see the whole thing. It'll work. So, in showing this, let me turn off the volume. Okay. So, in showing this, it's a refraction. Just an experiment. I did this showing that if I put a glass of water in front of this arrow, that clearly the arrow drops. But then I noticed, well, wait a second, why does the arrow switch directions? We don't see that in reality that we know of. When I look out at the boats on the horizon, they seem to be going in the correct direction, not flipped. So then I realized, okay, well, let's try it with a square glass instead of a curved glass. And when I did that, I noticed, okay, now we don't get the flip. Let's bring the square glass in. Are we still doing a curved glass? So another curved glass showing a curved horizon there. I'm kind of using this as like a horizon line. And then kind of ask the question of, does this match reality? And the answer is no, because we don't see things go opposite. But then I realized, it's because of the curved glass that's causing the item to flip, because when you put a square glass instead, you get the correct way, right? So now, as long as you don't look at the corners, which are also curved if you think about it, but the flat side of the glass here with no curve keeps the image the same, but it does drop the image. So I don't get how their entire thing is based off the fact that because things are entering a more dense medium, that we see it higher. Because again, if that were true, then why is it that when we see here, I'm seeing this horizon line, what, higher or lower? Lower. And the light is traveling, hitting a denser medium, dropping, and I see the item lower. So that's one I still can't get have you seen anybody do this that shows items rising, Hero? Or no? I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I haven't seen either. And then
But again, the thing is that they need to prove or to show that the object to present it's below the actual vision of the setup.
Right.
We are still, your experiment or your experiment is correct because we assume what we see, which is a flat plane. So we put objects, or in this case the line, above the horizon line, and we show that the bending is downward, not upwards. And of course, somebody can tell you, well, but you need to put some, weather conditions, if it's more cold the air or more hot the air, whatever. But they cannot show us the fact that the object is very below the horizon line.
Right, that's a good point.
A big amount, because in some cases are hundreds of meters
I could probably set something up like that. I'm just thinking about it. So you're saying like if I do a little slight bend in something, put something behind that curve, and then see if there's any way with any condition to bring it back over the curve. That's what you're basically saying, right? Yeah, I've never seen that either.
We are still waiting.
Which is what they say is constantly happening. Again, this is what you have to keep their model, which is, well, the light is bending at exactly the rate of the Earth curve. And this is the problem, right, is with Walter Bislin's calculator or whatever, they've effectively, if you believe in that, then they have erased any evidence at all of seeing too far. Because essentially, you could see 10,000 miles away. And they will just say, well, the light's bending with the curvature of the Earth. So again, it just created a complete and easy way out for them.
Yeah, and still the Walter Wade, I don't know how to pronounce that guy, calculator is not even a ray trace engine. It's just an orthographic mathematical model. It's not even trying to compute like a game or 3D software engines where you use this idea where the light are little photons bouncing all over the place and render the final image, but based, if you want, in what we call ray trace. So, which is more quite reality. Of course, it's very, very far away. It's cheating. Of course, it's not like the light behaves in real life, but it's a model that produces hyperrealism in terms of the final render of the image. In this case, this guy, it's completely orthographic. It's completely arbitrary, at the level that you can still rise up the handle to the right, giving like 500% or 500,000% of the index of refraction, and of course the option is going to appear, even if it's hiding like 3,000 kilometers below the supposedly horizon. So that calculator is nice, but it's way, way off of trying to mimic how light behave in real life.
Yeah, and then again, it just makes it so they just move the dial, and then they're like, "See, that's how much refraction is." That's not how you do science. It's just not how it's done. And
no, because it's in the computer, and that is not science. That is just a model. Could be nice. Could be at the end of you can use as a prediction, but again, the prediction is wrong with that calculator.
Yeah, that's our new thing too. And this is you won't catch real scientists saying some of these things. You'll only catch the YouTube scientists saying, not even scientists, the YouTube science parishioners, the science go-getters and backers. They'll say, we predict this, and then we see this, therefore globe. And it's like, no, you can't do that. And I love Mindshock the other day was just laughing hysterically at Craig, FTFE. And he said, what Craig's saying is the equivalent of, we believe that Bigfoot brings the mail to our house every day around noon. And to verify this, we're going to set up an experiment where we're going to check the mailbox at 12:15 and see if the mail is there. And we check the mailbox at 12:15, the mail's there. Therefore, Bigfoot brings the mail around 12 noon. That's the equivalent of what they think is evidence of the globe Earth, where they say, well, we predict there's a sunset and sunrise, and then there are, and therefore it's a globe. And it's like they don't get at all what science is about. But I get it's because they have a very high school level. I know they've gone to some college or whatever, but they have a very rudimentary opinion of science and how it works, and they've been fooled. That's a way to look at it. I had this up on the screen just showing the speed of light in this particular instance here, which if people don't know, how does this make any sense to you? The speed of light comes in, they say it's traveling at whatever the speed is, and then 186, whatever. And then it hits this medium and it slows down, and then it goes slow until it gets to the other side, and then it speeds up again at the speed of light, which there is no mechanism for that. What is the driver for the acceleration of that light going from a slower medium then back out? How does the light slow down and then speed up? Well, what's speeding it up? So, that's always been a problem in their model as well. And then as far as ray tracing, I don't know. Iru, so you're saying that the Bislin calculator is more of a mathematical thing, whereas a 3D render program incorporates
yes, of course,
ray tracing.
If you consider that the 3D render, you are like living in the 70s with the Dynacom pixel
right.
reality. That is complete orthographic. Orthographic in the sense that the final render that presents, it's just lines without any internal model of light, quote unquote, light bouncing behavior. it's very, very expensive to create, of course, a render engine, but you can maybe you can import from, Octane Render or Unreal or whatever, and trying to make that like I did so many times in the past with my 3D programs. But this type of calculator is just based on pure numbers. That is why you can raise the dial to 5,000% and you're gonna have the desired result. But this is just lines. It's not the equations put in there are correct. They are using well done equations, but that is not an image-based final render. This is just pure numbers without any of these properties that we can use in our days using more the 3D software rendering.
Right, and I know some distances that I'm trying to think of some distances that we've seen pretty easily, but I'm trying to think. Salton Sea, we saw, what was that, about 18 miles. So, oops, let me change this to, where's the here, miles?
If you like, I can present
please, yeah.
later the what I think
your ray tracing thing.
That could be something nice to the Globers too.
Well, I think that what I love, the video that you do where you show the sun coming into view, with the atmosphere and how it.
Yes,
that's one of the best.
Yeah, give me 2 minutes to.
Yeah, I'll show this real quick just so
my
people
PowerPoint.
can see. So here, if we were at a 6 foot tall person, and let's say our target distance is 18 miles. So you're standing at the beach. Can you see 18 miles? When the target size, let's say, is, 15 feet, just as a matter of fact. So you can see here that this shows that we cannot see it. But if we could see it, their answer is simply to move this refraction bar this way. And then they keep moving it until we see what they want us to see. Or let's see here, where is it at? It's going to be here. There it is. It's starting to come over. There you go. And then they would say, oh, it's this much refraction. And they would say, because we see it now, went above the horizon line. But this is not science. You can't just do that arbitrarily, because again, you could have something that's 10,000 miles away and be able to see it because you eventually move the refraction high enough. Now they would say, oh no, it's not a get out of jail free card because really refraction only exists in this area. Well, what you've done is you've increased the size of Earth. And so so basically, how do you not see it as cheating if we're saying, hey, you'll never see further than 500 miles. And then you are creating a program that makes it so that anything within 500 miles that we ever see, you barely have to move the refraction bar a little bit to get it to come into view. Like, how do you not see that that's dishonest, that that's not science, and it's very easy and convenient for you guys to use? But again, I get it now why this is what they want. They want these easy answers, these easy explanations, like refraction for everything or gravity for everything. It gets to be a little bit tiresome eventually. It's like, wow, I mean, if you're just going to deny reality, you're just going to tell us that things bend down when we see that we see them higher than we don't. Where are these? If we actually saw things higher than the horizon line ever, then we would see, like, for instance, they always show that floating boat, right? I was going to show this too, but they always show that floating boat, and people think for some reason that this is what's called looming, and they're not even thinking. If you had a boat that was floating, it wouldn't be looming unless the water was up there, right?
No, that was a Star Wars movie.
Star Wars.
It is it's a boat is floating because that belonged to Star Wars 3.
Yeah,
Spanish joke, you know.
That's it. Let's see here. Let me show this one. And they call it a Fata Morgana. Also not true.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how.
I've never seen Action Lab talk about this. Have you seen them talk about floating boats? When was this? 2 years ago.
I think you are with us. You are still presenting the whatever guy calculator.
Let me bring this up because I want to watch him talk about this. See what he said. Let's see if he's going to. Because I don't really see him lie much, but let's see what he does. Because he's either going to give us the explanation that what's that guy's name? I want to say Thomas Young, but it's the guy that I reached out to that does the atmospheric science, and I told him flat out. I said, "Can you please just admit that this boat is not floating, that it's sitting on water?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's sitting on water, and it's just a lowered horizon." I'm like, okay, so let's see what he's got to say here on this.
How it's possible for boats to actually float in the air. Recently on the internet, there was a picture of a sailboat floating in the sky above the horizon, and it drove the internet crazy trying to figure out.
So if you don't know what's going on here, that the water is back here. Okay, the boat is sitting on water. It's not being risen. First of all, why would the boat rise up and not the water? What is different about the boat and the water? So it's just because after you get to that critical angle where it becomes too flat of an angle, then it starts mirroring the sky. And that's what we get here. This is just a mirror image of the sky. But let's keep going.
What was actually happening here? Was it faked or was it actually a real picture? So let's head out to the ocean to see if we can actually see any boats floating above the horizon. Okay, so I'm here at the ocean to see if I can see the effect of the floating ship. Let's look at some ships out there and see if we can see any that look like they're above the horizon. So it looks like some of these boats that are really far away, they seem to be a little bit above the horizon, but not a really strong effect here. Now on days where this effect is really strong, here's what it can look like. You can see that the boats seemingly float above the horizon. So in order for a ship to appear as if it's above the horizon, some bending of light has to occur. Now you remember that light doesn't always travel at the speed of light when it's moving through different materials. Depending on the density of the material, it moves at different speeds. And what that amounts to is as it passes through a material, it bends when it's a different density. And cold air has a higher refractive index than warm air. So what that means is on cold days when the water is cooling the air just above it and the air is hotter above the cold air, it means that you can actually see things that are even below the horizon. And it can actually lift that image up higher than the horizon itself. Now the effect of these ships floating is called Fata Morgana, and it basically means that it's a mirage, but I'm going to use some sugar and water. That light doesn't...
So I just wanted to bring up, again, he's going down the mainstream answer, which is just wrong. Okay, because again, he's talking about light bending. Well, where's the light from the water? Why is the water then not lifted up? And if you did any kind of measurement of it, it wouldn't be above the horizon line. And he's talking about, above the horizon, below the horizon. Well, how do you see a horizon? If it's being bent up or down or whatever. Let's continue.
And before that, sorry, maybe I'm going to say something that I cannot explain very well in English. But first of all, there is no proof that the light travel. That I see something because some photons are bouncing off my couch and projected the image in the back of my brain because we have a little tiny particles that are flying through the space from the couch at 2 meters away to my eyes. You know, that is all models.
And that doesn't even make sense, right? Because again, if anything's traveling that speed and hitting your eye is going to be damaged.
Of course, man, I'm going to be blind immediately, you know.
You cannot have little particles of sand flying at the speed of light hitting your eyes and be fine.
So that is just models. That works to render a final image without the intervention of the human hand, in this case, painting a hyperrealism picture. But it's a model. That is not based on reality. We don't see anything bounce. Not bounce in terms of maybe when you turn off the light, there is some, delay. I don't know. I mean, the actual model that they use to produce a final render image on a computer, for me, this is my opinion, it's not based in some real experiment. It's just that, but that is of course, somebody can bring the experiment of a laser, how the laser works, projecting or shooting the light in the distance. But I think that is a little different than the way we're trying to explain here,
Yeah, that's a good point. Like they can send lasers and have them hit a different medium and see that laser light adjusts. But I've never seen just a light. If you just put a light in the room, it's not going to adjust like that.
This is more a metaphysics thing, but we don't turn on the laser on the vacuum of space. We are still using here. Of course, you can. Again, and this is the old discussion in the early 20th century where, the sound vibrations, propagating through air. So where is the medium to the light? Because again, when we use a vacuum chamber here on Earth, it's not a vacuum. It's just putting out the air. And of course, the light is not traveling in the air. The air could interact with the light behavior, but we still don't know where is or what is the medium where the light propagates. So again, we don't make light science in actual vacuum, quote unquote, vacuum of space. We're still doing everything here on Earth.
Exactly.
And is there any natural light that is culminated like a laser?
The sun, supposedly, right?
Is that okay?
I remember, and I have here
I don't know.
that little experiment from the guy that David Wise present in some of his video, and I storage here so I can show later.
Yeah, sure.
But again, the guy used light, used a lens, and used a lot of things that still in our reality is under the atmosphere, not under the dome, but under the atmosphere, and collimate light. So what is the collimation? What produced the collimate rays light? Is the atmosphere, or it's the actual object that, you know?
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, now in my head,
we cannot separate. We cannot make the variable independent completely. We cannot take out all the element to say, okay, this is the cause effect. You know, in this case.
Yeah, so let's finish this off just because I want to see where he goes with this. But again, think about what he's saying, that the light is bending because the air is colder above, and it's okay. Then why is the water not being rendered higher? Why isn't the boat sitting in water and the entire picture being up higher? Because the whole thing would be affected, not just the boat. They can't just pick out the boat and be like, oh, we're going to lift this up, but everything else we'll leave down there.
Always travel at the speed of light when it's moving through different materials. Depending on the density of the material, it moves at different speeds. And what that amounts to is, as it passes through a material, it bends when it's a different density. And cold air has a higher refractive index than warm air. So what that means is, on cold days when the water is cooling the air just above it and the air is hotter above the cold air, it means that you can actually see things that are even below the horizon. And it can actually lift that image up higher than the horizon itself. Now, the effect of these ships floating is called Fata Morgana. And it basically means that it's a mirage, but it's a little bit different than a mirage. A mirage is when you see a mirror image of an object far off in the distance. And a mirage is caused when there's hot air on the ground and cold air above it. But this effect that I'm showing here is when there's cold air below and hot air above. And it actually bends light the opposite way than in a mirage. Now, in order to happening, I'm going to use some sugar in water. And the sugar is going to create a gradient from the bottom going upward. So at the bottom, it's going to be a higher refractive index than above it. And so it's going to create the same effect that we're seeing when the ships are floating above the horizon. You can see the bending of light that occurs when I shine a laser through the water here. It's actually pulling the laser light down, bending the light. For example, suppose that this metal ball here is my ship, and the bottom of this square acrylic box here is the horizon or the ocean. So we can see it still, we can see it, we can see it. Now I'm below the box, but I can still see the ball. Okay, so there's the ball. Now as I move down, I can see the acrylic box here is the horizon or the ocean, the water here. It's actually pulling the laser light down.
Hold on, isn't that in the box? Sorry. I thought he was saying that the marble is outside the box. It's inside. Okay.
Down.
Yeah, but he can see it because, again, it's like the butan gas propane experiment. They are tilting the camera. They are not moving the camera parallel to the table or whatever. They are just
so weird to see
aiming
these guys.
in diagonal.
Yeah, it's so weird to see them like. I almost hear the struggle in their voice because it doesn't jive. They're saying, "Oh, look, it's bending the light down." Yeah. So what is that? Why would that cause you to see the light higher?
Bending the light. For example, suppose that this metal ball here is my ship, and the bottom of this square acrylic box here is the horizon or the ocean. So we can see it still, we can see it.
Is he talking about this is the horizon? I don't know what he means by the bottom of the box.
No, supposedly, I don't know. Maybe he aiming to the back horizon, not the front horizon.
Well, yeah, but that's
I don't know.
It's in front of it. All right, we'll keep watching.
Yes, he's in front. And again, the experiment is bad perform because he needs to put the ball, the metal ball, down, not at the same slab or plane of the actual, box.
Now, I would have been impressed if like you put it behind
case,
here.
or outside the box,
right,
down the horizon line, because still that is in the horizon line, is not below the horizon line.
Right. Let's see what he does. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
And see it.
I'm tempted to go buy a fish tank today.
Now I'm below the box, but I can still see the ball.
Yes, the horizon is supposedly the back horizon, not the front horizon.
Yeah, but okay, so if this is the horizon line, then all this would be water. So
well, but he said, I'm still seeing the object, and of course the first horizon line is completely there. I mean, I cannot agree that he's so idiot to think that we still seeing and take it at the because in real life you don't take the front horizon of the camera, you took the far away horizon as a horizon, because that is the real horizon. Yeah, I don't know. In this case, I assume that this guy is taking the actual horizon in where he put the metal ball. Maybe I am wrong. And
let's see.
Okay, so there's the ball. Now as I move down, I'm gonna get below the edge of the box.
If you really want to see what's happening, watch the squares behind here. This is what's really happening. Watch as he lowers, and watch these squares disappear bottom up.
The ball. Now as I move down.
There they go. Look at this square right here. It's about to disappear bottom up.
I'm gonna get below the edge of the box, but I can still see the ball. So I'm a few inches below it.
A few inches below, but you can see the sugar. How are you a few inches below the horizon?
And I can still see the ball right there.
You're not below it. You're clearly above it. We can see all this white. If you're below this line, then anything below that line can't be seen.
It's pretty cool.
What is cool about? What are you talking about?
In fact, a little bit better than laser light. You can follow the path of the bottom corner of the box and look how bent it looks.
Right.
So watch as I get down low.
But what is that? I mean, what is that? You're not seeing it higher. What do you mean? It's bending. This is the curvature or the bending of...
No, and again, here using two front objects in terms of the transparent object, because he's using the front wall of the box and the back wall of the box. So this is not how atmosphere behaves, but it's okay because I understand it's a little experiment. But again, the setup is based on the flat plane.
Right.
It's a flat plane.
So watch as I get down low. Watch the background here. Watch how it lenses everything. In fact, it makes it look like there's a slope here. So you can see the edge going up there, but there's actually not a slope there. It's actually just flat. You can see it's just flat like that. Now, the ability to sometimes see things below the horizon occurs more than you think. In fact, as sun sets on the ocean, a lot of times when you see the bright red sun, when the sun is at the lowest point, the sun is actually below the horizon. It's actually below the curvature of the earth. But because of the bending of light, it actually appears above it. The reason it appears above the horizon is because of how our brains are wired to think. We're wired to know that light usually moves in straight lines. So when we see something above us, we expect that that's the angle of light coming in at us. When in reality, it's actually from below and the light's just curving. But because our brains don't think that way, we assume it's at a straight line wherever we're seeing it.
Yeah, because we see it. I mean, what he's saying is that the light is bending around the curvature of the earth, and then we are ourselves putting the big bright sun in the sky. No, that's where the sun is.
And this effect can be pretty strong sometimes. Sometimes you can see mountains that normally you would never be able to see because of the curvature of the earth. You can actually see them above the horizon. And when the effect is really strong, it can actually even flip the image upside down. So sailors have even reported seeing boats coming in upside down, floating above.
No, that's a Fata Morgana.
Above the horizon, thinking they're ghost ships. Because of the bending of light that can occur near the horizon, whether there's hot air or cold air there, it can bend the light up or down. You usually can't trust stuff that you see on the horizon. That's why astronomers don't really trust when they see a star at the horizon. They try to aim as far up straight as they can in the sky when they're taking measurements on stars and locations of stars in the sky. And it also makes it a difficult proof if you're trying to prove the Earth is round using the horizon, because depending on the temperature of the ocean that day and the temperature of the air above it, you can get light bending in either direction. So you can't really tell if something's below or above the horizon a lot of times. Now, this effect is also called looming. And it can cause things to appear bigger than they actually are, smaller than they are. It can actually occur and make them flip upside down as well. Because this effect is dependent on the temperature of the air, whenever the temperature of the air changes, it changes the image as well. And so it frequently makes things appear ghost-like. It can cause them to change as you're seeing them and even disappear. So you'll be seeing a ship on the horizon and then suddenly it disappears. So remember, you can't always trust your eyes. And thanks again for watching another episode of the Action Lab. I hope you enjoyed it.
That was one of the worst episodes I've ever seen. But that's just me. I don't think that, I mean, again,
Yeah,
I hear these guys they're just repeating the mainstream nonsense. Even though it doesn't make sense to them. You could just tell it didn't even make sense to him. What he's saying doesn't make sense. You can't say that we're seeing things higher. Go ahead.
No, sorry for interrupting you. But the phrase that you cannot trust in your eyes, you know, I mean, you need to be a little specific, because if that is the case, I cannot get out of my house, because I'm going to start to suspect as a schizophrenic guy that is the car. No, the car is not here. I mean, you cannot trust in the eye, in the experiment, or in a scientific experiment, if you will, you know, if you like. But
yeah, all their experiments are done with eyes, by the way.
Interruption and this comment, but it's a little totalitarian commentary. You know, you cannot trust in your eyes. You know, that is not a good teaching.
Well, if you can't trust your eyes, then what are you doing all these science experiments for? That's what you're using is your eyes. Everything he's ever done, he's using his eyes.
Exactly.
So don't trust him, but trust you, who's using your eyes to make these observations. It doesn't make any sense. And again, the thought of his answer for this, which is, oh, when we see, what is that boat that was floating here? So his answer to this is that, oh, well, the light is bending, but where's the water? Why wouldn't the water be displayed higher? It doesn't make any sense that it would just selectively grab the boat and say, oh, we're going to pull this over the edge and show you it higher, but not the boat. And again, people need to remember that they say that the sun, whenever we see the sun rise, it's actually below the horizon. When we see the sun set, we're watching it about to set, it's already below the horizon. I mean, it's insanity. And again, they just have all these little tricks and gotchas that make their models seem like it works well. And they go around saying, oh, our model works perfect, and it does not. You want to share, Ira?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
If you want to, it's more, you know, to complement this topic. It's not nothing super special, but what I like is, like, for example, for me, this is an old, and I show, and I present this so many times in the past, of course, but because you bring the topic, I mean, this is like a good control situation to show the Fata Morgana case. At least the best is the best one that I found on internet in terms of the setup. Is an old documentary from France. I don't know if you are presenting the complete screen, because here in Skype I see a little crop.
Yeah, it's gonna be cropped for a second while I fix it. Okay,
it's gonna be okay.
Just for a second, I'm just resizing it.
Yeah, but your second is a little bit time delay seconds sometimes with technical stuff. So
screw you, Hero, and here we go.
Okay. Now it's okay. It's cropped by the left side, but I think I can handle. Let me see.
Is it better?
That's worse. No, that is better. That's better. Okay.
Okay, go.
Don't touch anything else.
Okay, one touch it.
Okay. So here is a nice setup where you have, again, the container with water and sugar inside it still, and I think you can still see the gradient with the bottom part filled with this white dust, which is the sugar. And then you have, and this is the important thing, at the same altitude and the same height, you have this platform. This is a controllable platform because the idea is to rise up and down whatever the object is here in this top tiny crane. So you can start, moving up and down by centimeters, by millimeters, and see how it reacts in terms of the final image, where the camera is out of the frame in front of this setup. It's in front. It's like I'm using my mouse here, but it's far away to the right side. But everything, it's in the same plane. I explained well? Or...
Yeah.
Okay. No, because maybe I use incorrect words, and maybe I mess up. So here is the final result. Here is where it said Fata Morgana. Maybe you can see just a black typography out of focus, but that is what it said here. And this is the front camera, which you cannot see in the setup, but you can imagine what it is. And here you can produce the three major mirage, which is the actual image here. Then you have a superior inverted mirage, and then you have a superior mirage, where it's again inverted. So you can see it in the same orientation, but quite height of the horizon line. But everything is in the same plane of observation. There is nothing high behind the container or wherever. Then when the guy starts mixing the water with the sugar, you can simulate what nature does in real life, where of course we don't live on the sugar land, but we live in weather, changing weather or changing temperatures in the air. So this is our mimicking the change in hot or cold air. So here you can see how you can distort the image and start mixing the index of refractions properties. So that is why you can still you can see this enlargement or compression and things like that. So continue with the setup. Here they are making comparison on real life. This is in the desert. You can see like a mountain, and this is nice even to trying to explain, because remember that the word Fata Morgana belongs to the old Italian sailors, where they are using this idea of magic. I don't know how to say in English, but it's like the little magic bean with Peter Pan, with drops that fairy sparks. How you name in English?
Dust.
Yeah, that the magic dust, but the bean who make that, how you call it?
Jack, the magic bean?
Okay, yeah, we call campanita in
campanita.
Sorry for this. Yeah, but duende, how you elf? Like elf.
Yeah, elf, okay.
Okay, that is the word Fata Morgana. It's like a magical entity that produce this in the deep ocean, where it's where this is where also mixed with stories of these women that sing in the ocean and brings the sailors to the sink the boats. I don't know how it's sirenas. We call sirenas in Spanish. So here you can explain the old illusions in the deep ocean from the old sailors, writing down stories about magical beings or magical entities in the middle of the sea, whatever. And in our days, that archetype transformed to UFOs, because this is more like an UFO shape, after all, than in magical being. So in any age, you adapt these illusions. So that is the word Fata Morgana, but the technical word is index of refraction, etc., etc. So here you can see how nature does this this thing. Here you can see another spaceship in the middle of the air, and then here you can see, and this is an actual Arctic recording. Here you can see how this faraway mountain is going to produce the first superior mirage, and always the first superior mirage is inverted, or at least 99% of the time. So now it's just mirror itself, creating this appearance of superior mirage. And then you can see the third superior mirage, where again is trying to orientate itself, but it's going to be compressed. So that is sometimes we read about the plane crashes in Antarctica or in the Arctic, because sometimes you have this problem with big mountains, and when you're trying to correct the trajectory, especially in the old times where you just have planes with not like we have in nowadays with turbines, but you have with hélices, I don't know how to pronounce. It was late to correct the trajectory, and you just crash into the mountain. Again, this is another inverted superior mirage of this part of the mountain. And then they trying to recreate this into the lab and the setup that I showed earlier. And here you can see this, in this case, is just a tiny toy boat where just adjusting a little bit the height of the platform, it has a drastic change in the final render of this Fata Morgana. So here it's what I referred before, the idea of monster in the oceans and things like that. Maybe it was just a regular fish, or it's not fish, but I don't know how the name in English. But it was a regular fish in the ocean that when you see on the, maybe a whale, that is just taking out the bottom part of the body. And of course, with this type of effects, you see the whale like a tiny dinosaur. And the old sailors write down in his books, I see a monster. Now, nowadays, the guys see an UFO. So it's the same thing, but based on the same phenomena of the atmosphere. So when you adjust this, that is just a little whale. Nothing special. This is not an UFO, nothing like that. So again, the important part is that the setup, it's like you present in the guide before, it's all in the same plane. There is no anything below any horizon. And that is what we're trying to ask for the Globers to present us. Something that is completely behind in the initial setup. Besides the orientation of the camera, besides or moving the camera up and down and trying to put in the diagonal and see, look, I put the camera below the table and I still see the object. Well, that is partially correct in the terms of the setup, but in your imaginary globe world, you need to put object below a supposedly horizon line. It doesn't matter if it's curved or it's still flat because the scale, but you need to put the object below and trying to achieve what you proclaim. So this is just a nice part of a movie. I think it was the Crown Case. I think it's the movie, but this is the old New York. You can see it by the Twin Towers. And again, this is just a movement of the camera showing the skyline of New York. And here you can see how the buildings are completely disappear in the horizon line based on the index of refraction. Then the camera continues going down and you lose and you start having all these Fata Morgana effects. Again, this is all in the same plane. Here you have just a little diagram because of course this is more like the calculator of this Walter guy, because this is just orthographic interpretations without the atmospheric conditions. And what that guy did was just using a dial to mix numbers, but not based on trying to mimic the atmospheric condition. It's just mixing numbers to rise up or put lower the object that he represents in lines, like a building or whatever you want to use in that particular calculator. This is another thing, of course, the Rayleigh criteria that you also need to add up in the final conclusion, because of course you're going to have the not just the refraction or the reflection of the final image, but also the dispersion of the light. So you can going to lose resolution at the end of the image based on the
in none of their curve calculators.
No, nothing. This is what you can achieve cheating, because it's not based on reality, because it's inside of computer, but you can address a little bit of this this type of final render image with ray trace engines, where you can at least trying to use out of focus and depth and a lot of things that is not presented in the calculator of this guy. But this is real life. At least when you prepare a setup like this, it's also real life. Of course, it's based on a small scale, because we cannot. We have actually the nature to see the final result in the flat Earth. But I mean, at least this is our leading with real light and real water and real glass, not computer-based results. Here again, I finished doing this little thing based on observations of long distances, and etc., etc. And then you have, for example, this type of experiment did by Rob Skiba. I think was one of the first that I saw before discovering this old documentary. But again, this is a real life thing with real objects, not with just numbers inside of computer. And again, at least you need to accept that in our model, we can, in small case, we can produce the same final result or on object disappearing using all flat surfaces. So it's not a condition that only belong to spherical shapes, right, or any other shapes. So here we can present, objects that are cut off in the bottom part in the same plane or in the same flat plane setup. I just show for the presentation. We are entering not in the real life. We are entering a computer-generated images based on ray trace softwares in terms of the render engines. And I use a software called Arnold, which is one of the standards in Hollywood movies in nowadays. It's a very powerful render. And here what I did was just mimic this box, this 3D box. Here you can see from the top, here is from the left. This is like a column of air. And this is a transparent object in the final result, but it has like a variation in the index of refraction. So I put a camera very far away. I just put these violet buildings just for reference. And here is the final result to see in real time what happened when I move this column of air. And of course, when I just present numbers of the camera, things like that, let me just, okay. So here, for example, I'm changing the fob of the camera. Maybe you can see that there is like a green square that is open and closing. Well, that is if you make a zoom on the camera, and this is based on a real camera. So here I just making a zoom, nothing more than that. And the idea is that when I zoom out, I can still see this tiny violet skyline. And that is because I don't apply this object to be rendered out and be calculated in the final result. So here you can see when I activate, the buildings are cut off. And here you can see that the building, if we live in orthographic world without air, without these refraction conditions, of course, this brown rectangle is the flat plane, which is represented in this box drawing in lines, black lines. And here is on top of the floor, of course, but in the final render, because we have this column of air in the front, we lose the bottom part. But the whole setup is based on the flat plane, because the 3D softwares, they are not, when you open a 3D software, it's not based on the spherical world. You have just an orthographic a flat world. That is how the 3D software operates. So again, when you compare this with looming or refraction or things of mirages, it's all based on the flat surfaces. It's not based on spherical surfaces. This is the famous day of the guy, of the weather guy, trying to explain that he received a lot of emails trying to explain that that is not possible in the spherical world. I think everybody remembers that. And let me just check here what I have. Well, here I have like a representation of what I'm trying to explain before, which is everything is aligned and everything is in the same level of observation. So the idea here is what is like, imagine that you are a globe, a glober. You can use this setup and put these objects very down here, down of this line, put it down here and leave the camera in front and show us how the object here we're gonna see lifting up, and you know, the rest is the rest is that we are still trying to look in that experiment. Here you can see the Canigou, because remember the Canigou is like how many hundreds of meters below, and that is especially in 2 days at the year. So we have that the same weather condition those days to do that effect. That's crazy, man. I mean, you cannot achieve that the same result in every. That is a condition based on the how the sun is going away and presented in the shape of the shadow. So again, this is just a comparison of what I presented before. Here you have another example with a boat where you can see what we see in reality with this the ghost ship. That is the name that the mainstream give to this phenomena. And again, I go into here is another type of nature examples. Here I have the same example that I presented earlier, and I think here maybe let me just see. This is a Canigou with another setup. I think I have it here. Here you have the three, at least one of the three technical stuff. What it happening in real life is we have looming, towering, and mirage. And here you have, and this is for official place. This is not a photograph made by me or for any flat earther out there. This is just an official website. It's called Wikimedia Commons. And here is the example. And here you can see the three different conditions, the looming, the towering, and the mirage condition in the same observation. And the only thing that changed is, of course, the temperature and the atmospheric pressure. So here you can see the mountain where you lose the bottom part based on, of course, also because in this condition, which is a condition similar to the Canigou case, the atmosphere and the sky is so washed out that you don't have any reference of nothing. So this here, for example, this bottom part could be losing not just by refraction, but also by a fog.
Yeah.
So, but the sky is so mixed so well in terms of the colors that you don't have the ability to say this. I lose this part based on refraction, based on a geometrical curve or whatever. It could be just a frontal fog, and simply as that. Then you have the complete mountain, but a little bit stretch in the top, because this at least retain the same size, the original size. The weather condition, what they produced was like a stretching up, you know, the whole shape of the mountain. And here have the other, the opposite thing, which is the compression and the superior mirage. So when you go, at least in this kind of topic, nobody talks about the shape of the earth and nothing like that. It's just based on weather conditions. Here I compare. This is a Canigou picture, and this is the example that I presented earlier in terms of the movie, where you can see the Twin Towers. But the idea is to present the same regular mirage or Fata Morgana, which is more of the common situation. Then you have, I think I put another one. This is more, I use this example because in this time lapse, we can see very clearly the stretching, the compression, and things like that. So this is a very, very well done example, because here you can see all the, in just 2 minutes, you can see all the deformations that the atmosphere produce. Even there is a particular moment that the complete island or land, in this case, disappear completely. And then here I use some of the older example when you can see the superior mirage inverted like we see here. But again, this is all based on atmospheric properties, not anything geometrical. And the other thing is, I think here you can, I always use this as a reference, at least as a starting point, because here again, this is a controlled environment. This is how, if you want to be a little bit professional, you present something like this, or you trying to replicate things like this, not just, put the box with water and nothing else, to contemplate. So here again, the idea of this experiment is to present the prediction that if you change this is a container filled with water, and these are going to produce heat changes in these nanotubes, and you're gonna see how the nanotubes start to getting invisible, but not just from the bottom to the top, but the real thing happens in a gradient back to forward or forward to back. Of course, we perceive as a bottom to top, but I don't think in real life that is the case. The case is that it's produced like in a straight line from the front to the back, not from the not for the where the camera is, but in terms of the horizon. So the origin, you need to take this at the horizon, but here you can see how start disappearing from back to bottom, changing the heat in that nanotube, and reach a point where everything is invisible. And then they start changing again, and here you can see how the little ripples of in the water. So again, it's going to appear again, and then you have what nature does in terms of these effects. And I think, I don't know if I think here I don't have the example of I used to use an example of a boat going away. I don't know if I have it in some other in this presentation, no. But again, for me, these are more like a good experiment. And again, we are still waiting the idea of, let me open a file finder very quickly, an Explorer. I'm looking for the example that I want to show you. Give me 1 second. I have it here. Okay, the Bhutan tank example. Let me just put it like this. Okay, I have it here. So remember that when the guy who did this experiment want to say that they, achieve the final result, this is the setup. And again, in this case, this is the setup that they present. Okay, this is the Bhutan tank, and here is the Bhutan tank. This is the top of this cylinder, which is the green part. But the problem here is that the objects, it's at the same level of the Bhutan tank. Now that is the first thing, at least. Again, this is not put it below, which in my case represent a lot in terms of what they're trying to achieve. And in the case that you showed earlier, Jeran, is the same thing. Everything is in the same line. You need to put it down the line and not in the same level, because that is our model, not yours.
Right.
So that is the first bad starting point. And the second is that they always put the camera in the diagonal, trying to reach the top of this. And this is not the correct setup. The correct setup is the camera is aligned to the first, horizon if you want, and the object must be down of the horizon line. So again, of course, the guy dropped a liquid gas cooling down like 50 minus degrees and things that are crazy completely. So that is not where we live again. So we are still waiting here I recreated in 3D. I trying to match the camera perspective and things like that. I create the Bhutan tank here. The cylinder is in this case 3 boxes aligned and things like that. So the guy, what he did, here is the setup where I trying to create different index of refraction, blah, blah, blah. And what I did was, let me just skip a little bit forward. This white thing, which is a plane representing the changing in the index of refraction. This is like a simulation of the gas. Again, this is just computer simulation. This is not real life. Here is like the turbulence scale inside of that glass. And here you can see when I render out and present the ray trace final image, here you can see how the object is going to rise up. But again, it's going to rise up because it's in the same level line of the Bhutan tank and the camera is aiming down, which is not, at least in my opinion, it's not the correct setup they are presuming in terms of the globe situation. So we are still waiting for that control environment experiment when they put object below the horizon line and we are still able to see in the final result. And here I put in After Effects, and this is the gas when the guy drop, not the gas, the guys are dropping a solid liquid thing, which is far more, has more mass than just the air. This is a liquid. It's like a water. Here you can see it's still water. It's like putting a glass, an actual glass in real life. I mean, this is not, at least in my opinion, it's not comparable with gas. This is, it's like forming a little bits of glass or mirror, which is going to help quite a lot. And that is not here you can see how many, because when you see that in this dark condition, maybe you think that, okay, everything is transparent. It's like a gas. But when you rise up the levels, you can see it's like a wall of liquid glass. So but for me, this is not a complete valid experiment in that sense, in terms of how they set up the thing. And
temperature changes that drastic.
Yes.
At all. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, again, they need to change the setup. They need to not to use things that are aligned, but that are below. Not aligned, which is below in this case, it's just the camera. So you have just one part of the correct experiment if you want to see. But when you see for example, the representation of the cannibal, let me finish with this because maybe I don't explain myself quite well. In this case, the camera is down and the objects are down, and in the middle is just, in the middle. So when they use this setup, they have 2 of the 3 parts involved at the same level. I explain, you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So again, they need to put, the camera in this position, the object here, and this other object they are trying to see rising up below this middle supposedly bulge on the spherical Earth. And they never did that.
No.
And I don't have anything else to say.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
See you later.
I wanted to show a couple other things, but yeah, I mean, it's. I'm getting an echo here. Let me see if I can. Oh, there it's gone. So I wanted to show you this first off, and I've shown this many times before, but here's the coffee cup caustic, which happens if. Oops. Make sure you guys are seeing it. Yeah. So this happens with light inside of a cup or anything like that. But I mean, the thing that trips me out the most is look at this over here, this view here, and if you go and search for, what are they called? Sundogs. Yeah, sundogs, or any kind of atmospheric effects. Like, let me go into images. And if you see something like this here, okay, this pattern, and then you see this, they are identical.
And I have a picture of that. Those are real. They happen, and I was at 41 degrees north.
Right.
It was wintertime. Yeah.
Was it this pronounced, or was it more like one of these, or?
It was more like go up a little bit. Probably the one all the way to the top left up there. That was
This
up
in here?
there.
Oh, wow. That's the one that's got the pillars. They're crazy. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're looking at the screen, not the actual. Let me move this so you can see it. Oops. Don't do that.
AA.
Let me go back here.
What is it?
Let me move by. I forgot I changed this for Euro, so it's off centered here now. Okay. So you're talking about which one now? Out of those? You were talking about this one?
AOAA. It's a screen still taken.
Oh, here.
I can see now. I'm not seeing it here on Skype.
KOAA, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. Yeah. Oh, well, there's a couple. There's this one. There's this one. But I mean, it's just amazing to me that we see the exact kind of effect that we do see out of this glass. And then if you look inside the glass, this is why many people think that we see a 24-hour light in Antarctica, but not a 24-hour sun. Because if you kind of look here, you would see if the sun were here in its orbit of this cup, you would get over here and you would have light residuals hitting all the way around the cup. So again, it could be that. But again, I had somebody told me the other day, I said, Jeran, you don't really think that the equator is a different size than they give us, do you? I'm like, yes. They're like, how could that be? How would you even come up with that? Why would they lie about the equator? So let's just do a quick test here. We'll just see if this makes sense to you guys. This is good old Google Earth. Okay, you've seen it many times before. Let's take a distance between, and you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. We'll take a distance between me here in California to New York. Okay, and we get a difference of, where is New York? Hello. And there. Okay, so we get a distance of, whoops, my little thing here, 2,500 miles. Okay, 2,500. So let's write that down, 2,500 miles. Okay, let's go with a distance from where I live, California, to Hawaii. Oh, we gotta get rid of this line. Okay, and we're gonna go from California to Oahu. Okay, and how much is it? 2,500, or I mean, thereabouts, 2,500 miles. Okay, so we know now that 2,500 miles, those two distances. Now let's just think: how many time zones is there between San Francisco and New York? 3. Means that there's 3 hours between San Francisco and New York. How many time zones is there between San Francisco and Hawaii? 3. There's 3 time zones between San Francisco and Hawaii. So we can, from that, just do a little bit of math. 2,500 divided by 3. Let's figure out what that is. Because that's going to be about the distance of one time zone. So 2,500 divided by 3 equals 833. How many time zones are there, or should there be, in a simple Earth that has 24 hours? There should be 24. 833 times 24 equals. That is your equator distance. Not 24,901. That's a lie. Now, you might say, oh no, but they know it and you just made up something, Jeran, off the top of your head. You just put some numbers together. It works for me. And when I look at reality, I think that the equator is about 20,000 miles. And with that, I'm able to describe everything. The plane flights from Santiago to Chile, because everything changes. And then you hear Urbe, the guy that Taboo Conspiracy just did his video about, the guy that formerly was a racer, he circumnavigated the Earth.
Everi Boni.
What is his name again?
Everi Boni.
Everi Boni.
Boni.
He's a very
Boni.
Okay, very bony, like he's skinny. Demasiado.
No,
that's right. Okay. But
you need to know French.
He's making claims that the North has been inflated in size, and the South has been deflated to make the globe. Okay, so what that is saying is essentially the miles that we may be traveling here in the North may not be correct, and the ones in the South were not correct, because they had to kind of, again, if you're trying to make it a ball, you have to even things out, and these would be what we would see. To me, when I go looking for things about mileage problems, all I find are these. Let me see if I find one here. Okay, yeah, just tons of these articles on car sites that say, hey, I was wondering which is right, GPS or speedometer. Seems like the speedometer is 5 miles per hour over everywhere. GPS is right. GPS should be right. Now, have you done any mods on your truck? GPS is going to be more accurate than your speedometer. So now, I mean, people are going around saying, like, we know the distances are correct because our speedometer says it. No, you've never done any tests like that. And nor could you even know you're driving on a straight road. But I bet you if you did, you would always realize that your miles is off. Okay, because they lie to your face and you don't even care. You don't even notice it. So what difference does it make? How would you notice that the distance between San Francisco and New York is different than what we're told? How would you notice that you wouldn't know? And planes, we know, are programmed to get to places at a certain time. So you're not even going to be able to determine the shape of the Earth through plane flights, which some people think you can do. Like, well, this plane flies to here in this time, and that means that it definitely is a globe. No, a plane can fly faster. I just showed the other day, and I'll show a GLOBEBUSTERS audience too, because I think it's hugely important, that we've got a document that I found from, let me get it up here. What year is this from? This document here is from, a little bit over here, Colorado State University, Department of Atmospheric Science, from June of 1962. Okay, June of 1962, and look what they're talking about here when they're talking about the jet streams and how fast they go, and multiple jet streams, and talks about following the first discovery, the concept was proposed of a single dominant jet stream per hemisphere, but observations soon rudely upset this simple picture. It is now clear that the jet streams will be encountered simultaneously at various latitudes and altitudes. At this time, we have definite knowledge of the following currents. And then he goes through and lists them. Everybody always says, oh, but they only go one way, Jeran. And I say, no, they do go the other way. No, you don't have any proof of that. But this guy here, you'll notice that we have a, let's see where it says here. The middle latitude jet stream, it could be containing 200 knots, a westerly current. Okay, so westerly means it comes from the west. The subtropical jet stream of winter latitude, blah, 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 westerly. We got another westerly. The tropical easterly jet stream. What? There's jet streams that go in both directions. How about this? This one here says, core speeds occasionally approaching 300 knots. Do you know how fast 300 knots is? 300 knots. 2 miles is 345 miles per hour. So we are being told that, oh no, the jet stream never goes above 150. These are the lies. These are the changing of the facts that you people don't realize, you don't see. You just let go over your heads. You just let them get away with lying. Whereas if you go look into it. Yeah.
Let me just add very quickly something.
Please.
Remember that even on 30, 40, 50 kilometers and 60 kilometers, there are very huge jet streams that are used by stratospheric balloons.
Right.
So what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's crazy that and then they start saying, oh no, they don't go that fast and you're making that up. And no, but if there's 345 mile per hour winds and we can calculate that a plane going from Santiago, well, more from Sydney to Santiago, and they show us and we do the math and it comes out to the plane's going 550 miles per hour. Okay. But we know that there's a jet stream down there that could be anywhere from say 150 to 350 miles per hour. Then you have to believe that that plane is not doing anything like any other plane would ever do. It's actually flying way too slow. Way too slow. Imagine if it was actually 345. Let's give it 300. Then that means that 550 mile per hour plane is actually going 250. For whatever reason, just cruising in the sky at 250 when it could be going an additional 300 miles per hour. Well, we know that every plane would take advantage of that. We know that.
And it need what, a couple extra layers of paint or something like that?
Maybe? Yeah, we need maybe some composite materials. And then you go and look up the Dreamliner. Dreamliner 747-9, I believe it is. Boeing 787 Dreamliner -9, which if you go down to the -9, and then go look at all the planes that fly across the Southern Ocean, these huge flights, they are always did I miss the listing of each type? Let me get down here. Here we go. 787-9, keeping the same wingspan. It is lengthened and strengthened. With a 20-foot longer fuselage and 5,400 pounds higher maximum takeoff weight, seating 259 passengers, typical 3-class arrangement. It gives you a miles range, but again, if the miles are off, then that would be off. And it features active boundary layer control on the tail surfaces, reducing drag. It is targeted to replace the Boeing 767 and the Airbus A3300 and the Airbus A3309. Let's see here where it talks about. And what it gets into.
You are a good plane sellers.
Yeah. Somewhere it says where it talks about the composite materials. Where is this at? 20-foot stretch to achieve the wing and fuselage 787 is required radical vision to achieve payload range goals. The following a major revamp of the original wing. now I want to check if this has changed. Did they take out the part about all the composite materials used? Hold on. Maybe
You can use Control F and start typing.
Thank you. Let me look at composite. Composite. Oh, so maybe all of them are? Let's see here. Boeing. So it's basically saying at launch, Boeing targeted the 787 with 20% less fuel burn than replaced aircraft like Boeing 767. Point-to-point routes up to 8,500 nautical miles, which is 9,800 miles. A shift from the hub and spoke travel to twin jet powered by the General Electric GNEX or Rolls-Royce high bypass turbofans. It is the first airliner with an airframe primarily made of composite materials. Makes extensive use of electrical systems. Externally, it is recognizable by its 4-window cockpit. Anyway, it is a different plane. And if you look at any of the planes flying those long routes, they are the 787-9, and it's an extended range plane. Let's see what I hear. The 787 was designed to be the first production airline with a fuselage composing of one-piece composite barrel sections instead of multiple aluminum sheets. See here, 20% more fuel efficient, plus gains from the aerodynamic improvements, increased use of lighter weight composite materials and advanced systems. I mean, once you realize how much the computer flies the plane and how much the computer decides where, at what flight level, so they can get there by what time, then you start to realize that they have so many systems that they could make it. I don't think there's any question that they can fly above supersonic speeds anymore. I don't think that that's even a question. I think that we're very confused. We're taught that there would be a sonic boom and everything, but sonic booms don't even go in the direction. They go in the direction of the craft, meaning if a craft is going up and there's a sonic boom, you wouldn't even hear it on the ground. So anyone ever told you that? No, they don't tell us that. So again, it's like the more you learn about these things, the more you realize it's all a big scam. And I think I've shown Elon Musk. You've heard me talk about Elon Musk, what he said about plane flights. He basically says, oh yeah, once you get up in the sky and you're going at cruise altitude, that essentially your balance of forces causes the plane to go without needing additional energy. So basically he's like even giving up the fuel hoax in a way. Now again, planes need fuel.
In fact, the flight that I just took from to come in here to Argentina, it was because weather condition, it was delayed like 30 minutes, and we flight all the time the 13 hours above 12 kilometers above. It was like flying at 40,000 feet. Yeah, trying to gain again, trying to recover.
And let me guess, you got there on time.
Lost time, you know.
And did you get there on time?
Not on time, but we win again like 20 minutes from the lost 30 minutes.
Oh, gotcha. So only about 10 minutes. Yeah, because if people really thought about it, just think about how much of a nightmare it would be if planes kept getting there late. It would screw up every flight on every airport. It would be a disaster. It doesn't really happen as much as you think. Planes, and if you think about you getting on a plane, have you ever left on time? The answer is kind of no. You know, by the time they board the plane, everybody's sitting down, it starts taxiing. You might start taxiing around that time, but you'll never get off the ground when you're supposed to. But you always get there on time. And that's because the plane can make up for speed, because the plane is certainly is just programmed to get to a certain location at a certain time, and it does the best it can at doing that. So, excuse me. No, again, we're talking about ground testing, a vertical drop of partial composite, concerns that while critics had expressed concerns that a composite fuselage could shatter and burn with toxic fumes during a crash landing, well, that's not good. Wide-scale use, including additional certification criteria due to the wide-scale use of composite materials. So it's like they had to redo this entire plane and then put it into motion of flying these southern routes. It also flies the northern routes. Don't get me wrong. There's long flights in the north. There's flights from like, I'm trying to think of where the longest flight is. Isn't it Japan to, I can't remember what's the longest flight. Anyway, it goes like 10,000 miles, I think. But that's more of a realistic 10,000 miles because it's in the north. And like I said, Urbe says that the north has been increased in size. So when we see that in the north a plane's flying 10,000 miles, we might surmise from that, oh, it's actually only going 8,000. But when we see a 10,000 mile flight in the south, that's actually probably going 13,000. See my point? That's what it seems like that they did. The longest flight is the 95-85 mile route between New York and Singapore. So this to me is less mileage. I would say this is less in realistic terms than the Sydney to Santiago, which they would say is they've flip-flopped, right? So 95-85 tells me, oh, that's actually probably about 8,000 miles. And people might be losing their mind right now because they're like, how could miles be off? Well, if you think that somebody went out in the ocean and measured miles, you're wrong. How would you do that? You could maybe measure a couple by a chain, and then you go and you anchor your boat, and you take this chain and go a mile away, and then you anchor, and I'll go a mile away. But you don't even know if you're going off in the right direction. You can try, but you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. These things are way too, and then they always base everything off of ground-based, your ground-based distance. So how would we ever even, and this is the problem, right? How would you ever even prove what I'm saying? I don't really know of a way to do it, because you're going to always compare it to GPS, and this is why I've always said GPS is their baby. Once GPS was out, these elite could sit back and laugh, because it would be impossible at that point for us to determine things that they already determined and hid. And this is why I say, again, if this wasn't true, you want to prove me wrong, show me the open source GPS code. Okay? Show me that whatever's being transmitted by the satellite is actual real data. Then my phone is accepting and it's figuring out the math on it and figuring out where I live. That stuff doesn't even make sense to me anymore. How could you, they say that they're sending those beams from, what is it, 22,000 miles away? I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got GPS satellites, 22,000 miles away. And it's sending a beam, and then your phone is calculating the speed at which it arrived, and then looking at the time and then figuring out from that where it's at. To me, that just doesn't jive. What if there's clouds above me? What if it's raining? What if it's foggy? You're telling me that the speed of light doesn't slow down? Doesn't go different speeds? I thought that the speed of light was a variable. It's not even, now I know that they've had an accepted number, but that's not even the case. It varies. So if the speed varies, and how is the data coming from a satellite 22,000 miles away interpreted by my phone to give you a location of where I'm at? It's just not realistic to me anymore. And it's just part of their huge lie system. And I think what happens is whatever's sent to these balloons or satellites, whatever you want to call them, is then run through some code that refigures where you're actually at, right? So GPS is your global positioning system. It's where you exist on a globe. That's your position on a globe. Not where you really are. Where you really are would be your actual location. Let's say it's on a flat topographical plane, stationary. You're sitting at a certain location, and then the beam that goes up to this balloon or satellite, whatever you want to call it, is basically being worked out and then returned to you where you're at on a globe. So you're sending it, here's where I am on the plane, and it's sending it back to you and saying, here's where you are on the globe. Okay, great. Here's GPS. And then you got people like McToon going around saying, GPS proves the curvature of the Earth. No. GPS proves that there's a machine up in the sky that will reinterpret your data and tell you where you would exist on a globe. That's all it is.
Yeah, remember the Lagrange system.
Right.
They have already geolocation on the Earth with only 8 of these big antennas spreading all around the world. And they have geoposition or geolocation system based on just antennas on the ground, radar, of course, technology. But the Lagrange technology was updated and then changed to GPS because maybe they start using stratospheric balloons. And I have a picture. Really, let me just drop here on the
you can show
Skype,
it. Okay.
so you can show it. But we have nowadays we have so many technologies living on the air. That is the real GPS. At least for me, I'm going to give you the JPEG image here on the Sky chat.
Okay.
You have a Magellan GPS, and there were places in New Mexico, not a cloud in the sky, no trees around, didn't even see one. And the GPS would be like, searching for signal. Now, if that thing was connected to some satellite, which it supposedly was, the Magellan GPS, then there shouldn't have been any place out there when I was in the middle of the desert that had trouble connecting with the satellite above my head. And it happened a lot out there in the desert.
Yeah, there's too many things like that happen that just make me, and I do think that Dave Weiss has uncovered the truth about so-called satellites. What I think most times what's happening is the planes that are above our heads have created a mesh network that
I already drop it on the chat.
That are basically repeater stations, and you're basically using the plane's internet as like a hotspot. That's basically what I think is happening. Because think about all the planes above your head at any time. You could just be using those, especially.
But in the image that I share with you, we have 16 technologies that are really in use, that are already in place above our heads, that live in this a complete zoo of technology floating in the sky, where you can have all the quote unquote GPS system running. Why you're going to need so many of this technology if you just can solve with one equipment at 30,000 kilometers away?
Right. And why would you need so many GPS anyway? I never understood that. Wouldn't you just need a few of them above the Earth at 22,000 miles away? You would just need like 4. Should cover the entire globe. What do you have here? So GPS uses cell tower triangulation, not satellites. And I think isn't it trilateration?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is already commercial.
Correct.
Open commercial technologies. If you reduce a little bit the image, maybe the people can see complete in terms of if you click the control and
I see what you're saying, because I'm not
the
showing
wheel
pictures.
of the mouse, you can reduce the.
Let me see here. Alt here. So like this is better. Okay. So like this, right? I think
Let me see.
all the different pictures.
Okay. Yeah. So any number.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So one corresponds to the picture.
Yeah. The numbers correspond to the and again, we are using this big GPS system and technology at the same time that the cell phone towers grows in the world.
Right.
You know, this correlation is like when the CGI start to improve, we have better CGI out there. You know, it's like the better the CGI, the better the space become. You know, and with GPS, it's the same the same fractal. You know, we start having these cell phone towers all over the place, and suddenly GPS appear to put in your car and drive safely from the point A to the point B.
Yeah, and somebody was asking me the other day, like, couldn't we do a test where we run this much cable? And they're like, well, if they run internet cables under the sea, then it must not be very expensive for 6,000 miles worth of cable. I'm like, let me go look into that. I'm sure it's, they're going to give us some crazy number. Sure enough, if you look into what is the cost of undersea cables, they come back at $50,000 per kilometer. Okay, so that means how many kilometers is 60,000 miles, Eru? Do you know that offhand? What do you multiply by? I'll do the math.
A lot.
So you got 6,000 miles. Oops, that's not how you write 6,000. 6,000 miles to kilometers is 9656. So we take 9656, multiply that by 9656 times $50,000 is, so for one cable to run from South America to Australia is $482 million, $500 million. So these things start to add up to me and just go, wait. This is crazy. So we are running, think of how many, if you look at the undersea cable map, remember I just said 6,000 miles is $500 million. Okay. So let's just go to undersea cable. So then it starts to make sense when you're like, oh, why do they charge so much for satellites? They're paying themselves back for these undersea cables because they obviously, let's go images, I said.
Yeah, and remember that the satellites just have a duration of 5 years, 6 years in space.
Right. I mean, look at these. I mean, so all these are supposed cables. You think of how much money is involved in the running of all these cables across oceans, and again, why are they all heavily put in the north and not the south? Because the north is shorter. The north is a smaller distance. Urbe just told you that they expanded the north, meaning the north is actually smaller than we've been told. And so, of course, all the cables are run in the north because that's the shortest distance and the cheapest price. So there's too many things for me that continue to add up to we've been lied to on a massive level. And they've also done a great job of covering it up to where I can just talk like this if I want, but how am I going to show it? How am I going to prove it other than just anecdotal saying, why isn't there any cables running here? Why isn't there any cables running here? Well, because I think those distances are more than the globe would tell us. And therefore, you couldn't even try. I mean, I guess you could try. You're going to have to get more people into the lie.
And they need to fight with a pear shape of the Earth. Remember that the idea of the pear shape is because the South is bigger.
Right.
Even in the heliocentric model, of course, you can argue, well, but it's a small amount. Yeah, but when you see a pear shape, it's not a small amount. You know what I mean? So correct your words or accept that the South is bigger than the North, man. That is why Grace Tyson called a pear shape.
I mean, these again, $500 million for each of these. Well, no, this isn't 6,000 miles, but back and forth would be close. Again, I mean, to me, it just seems like it's quite obvious. Why can I do the calculations on my own and come up with a number of 20,000 miles for the equator? And again, did you know, Zach, did you notice, was there any huge flaw in my simple little math on the equator there?
Come on. No, I didn't see any. Maybe following the latitude line might have changed it a little bit, but I think it would have even been longer that way.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it. So you mean follow the same? So let's go down here to like Australia just to see here if we get any different numbers. So we follow a latitude line of, let's go here, which is, so from here at what is that? Carmarthenshire? Never even heard of it. And so we're going to keep to that same, oops. Now, how many time zones is there in Australia? I'm not even sure. Is it 4 across?
I'm not sure. It's weird there because they have like half-hour differences and stuff like that.
I keep losing the little box.
When you look into the time zones?
Yeah, it's so weird down there. So that's about 2,500 miles, either 2,400. And I don't know how many Australian time zones. Let me look at time zones real quick. Time zones, Australia. And I know that those are set by governments. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're perfect, but it is perfect if we have a 24-hour clock. There would be 24-hour time zones. The sun goes around. It's the hour hand of the clock. It goes around 1 hour, 15 degrees an hour, you know. Let's see here. So we got Australia has multiple time zones. Thank you. It basically looks like UTC +8 and UTC plus, oh, that's New Zealand. Yeah, so it's 3 or 2.5. Kind of, because at one place in Sydney got, oh wait, this one doesn't do daylight savings. No DST and no DST. So actually it's about 2 time zones.
Yeah, don't do the couple places don't do daylight savings, like Arizona doesn't do daylight savings. So it flips back and forth between Mountain Time and Pacific Time.
That's so weird that it does. Yeah, it's so weird. Let's just get rid of it. And I almost think sometimes it's done on purpose, just to like, how did we start a new country and feel okay with changing? Like, why would we ever come here and be like, and we're going to use different miles than you use? Right? Like, we actually came from where there was kilometers and meters and you know, millimeters. Then they came to start a new country and they're like, let's do miles and feet.
There's only 3 countries that use the standard system. Us, Iberia, and Ghana. I think we can do it with it and the world would be fine.
You think what?
Americans suck it up and everybody go to.
Yeah, we should just, it should be universal. Why wouldn't it be? NASA even has some stupid story that they lost some satellite because they used 2 different teams used 2 different figures. One was using kilometers, one was using miles, and then they lost it. But it's just, I could see that happening. I don't know why and then we just all get dumb when somebody mentions kilometers. We don't have a clue. And again, you have Celsius and Fahrenheit. One actually makes sense. One completely makes sense. And the other one is just random numbers. And we get the random numbers one. So did you ever see that Saturday Night Live skit, Zach, with Brent Berbaglia or whatever his name is? I can't think of his name now. You've never seen that one that talks about them coming over? I got to show it to you. Just because it's funny. And I like funny things. Let's bring this up real quick. Let me see if it's, so it's Saturday Night Live, SNL, and who was it? It was, I can't think of his name. Shoot. Bargatze, Nate Bargatze. That's what it is. I couldn't think of it. Nate Bargatze. Oh, yeah, this one. Just watch this. It's hilarious. I mean, if you got a sense of humor, you'll think this is quite funny. This is our founding fathers. Let's check this out here. Oops. Come on. We'll go there. There. All right. Enjoy this. It's pretty funny. Good stuff. Let's watch. It's been a while since I've done anything.
It was nice, man.
It's funny. Funny. But it's true. I mean, it doesn't ever make sense to me why you would do that. And then you create this disconnect between the world where it just makes things more difficult to communicate. But anyway, so what do we say? 2,500 miles there, or 2,400 miles. And again, 2 or 3 time zones, kind of hard to tell. They say both. I'm talking about this again. Sorry to go back to that.
And the origin, and not the origin, but supposedly we use a measurement from the body of a human being because it was a divine geometry proportions. And then, of course, the European came in and changed it.
What do you mean? Which one?
In the Gnostic language, we used to use measurements, a standard measurement. Of course, everyone has a different size of foot or an elbow or whatever. But in the old times, we use our body.
Oh, like paces?
In terms of our body used as a divine measurement, because we are created in this special number, the golden
ratio.
rule,
Yeah.
I don't number.
Yeah, golden ratio.
So
they call it.
we used to use our own creator, our own body as a divine measurement, and then came the French. I think was the French people that they present the metric system and change the idea of use our proportions and change into just a wood stick as a meter, and everything started changing. I maybe I don't explain quite well, but the bottom line is that because there is no a real measurement standard. It's just based on the human concept. You can use whatever you want, but it's nice to understand at least, or it's useful users to understand that they use all these different sizes and different system maybe to hide things that not much in reality.
Yeah, I thought I saw somewhere. I was trying to look for it right now, but I don't see it. I'm coming up with 22,000. I thought I saw somewhere that 19 million feet kept being said in the some ancient documents as the radius of the Earth. And when I do the math on 19,000 feet, it would be 3598 radius, 7196 diameter, which comes out to 22,500 miles. Again, short of what they tell us now. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I just make a noise.
Oh, I thought you were choking or something.
Yeah, no, because I want to say, remember Eratosthenes used to use the stadium to measure the Earth.
Here's the thing about, okay, great example, Euro. I'm glad you brought that up. I would have missed this one. This is how, when we talk about change the facts, okay? Eratosthenes, the way that we have determined what he was talking about with the stade is to figure out what the circumference of the Earth is, then assign that he must have been close. Oh, he's within a million. And then they say that was his distance of a stade. We don't have any document that says what his distance of a stade was. We've arbitrarily back engineered it. Now, they can't give him exactly right? So they made it 1% off. But people act like, oh, he was only 1% off of our current number. Well, no, but we don't know what number he used. So you've assigned to him a 1% difference and then said that's what his stade was. We don't even know. There's people who say that the stade was way off, that he was like, and again, how could you expect it to be on? How would that story even be true? The man thought that the sun was at least close, and it went around the Earth in 24 hours. So these guys were not so stupid that they thought that the sun was an infinite distance away and went around the Earth in 24 hours. So they knew that the sun must be somewhat local, but then it's coming in with parallel rays, even though they don't show themselves as parallel. It's a made-up story. I mean, I hate to tell you, I hate to be the one to explain to you, but Eratosthenes probably never existed. Neither did any of those guys. I mean, again, the names that they give these people. Why is it that people's names in the past always ended in ES? Have you noticed that?
Yes. What is that?
I don't know. I'm just wondering why all these names, Archimedes, Achilles.
Yeah.
It just seems like all the names, and I don't mean all, because I'm sure that there's some
if you study the surnames of, for example, people living in Czech or Jewish people and things like that, everything ends with Ichovich, Who knows why they use that? But they have all these common ending surnames or names,
Yeah, I was trying to think of other ones, but there's just a very. It just seems very designed to me. That's all. It seems very designed.
Yeah, of course, because it's all based on human inventions, And what I'm trying to say is, in the old times, we used to use hands and foot to measure, and small terrains or the skin of the bear of a bear, things like that. Even fingers. But they also use, for example, the Greeks, when they build these super nice, well-done architectures, they still use part of our body as a divine source. And of course, the history tells us that when the human beings start to connecting a big part of the world, they need to standard and measurement. But there is all based in those old measurements, because if you want to standard, for example, a foot, remember even Eratosthenes in the story of Eratosthenes, they don't agree what was the system to measure the distance between Syene and Alexandria. So some people say that they count the steps of the army, for example, because that was at that time the system to measure distances. Just the foot of a man, and the steps that the men walking
right, paces
provide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but if you just put imagine this, you put a man and you say, okay, make one step, stop there, bring me a stick of wood, and you put it there, and you stand there with the stick of wood, and then you just put the name on top, whatever you want, meters, colutus, taputus,
right.
And now in our day, supposedly we use the speed of light to calibrate at the small super precision of the meter, and every year I think they correct and trying to base on speed of light. The meter now is based on the speed of light, and then also the kilograms,
which isn't even
and
exact.
all those stuff,
Right. And that's where they get the distance from. I mean, that's the official saying, right? Or that's the official number.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh boy. I was just trying to look for. I forgot what they said. All right, here we go. Aristophanes combined this measurement distance at about 400 states. I was just trying to see what the difference between what Aristotle said and I can't remember where I saw it in Aristophanes, because I think in that you can figure out that they are just applying numbers to the past to make it seem like they were closer, or they're just made up the whole story, which is what I generally think. And again, I think that because there's certain people that came after him that never mention him. And it just doesn't make any sense. He's supposedly this polymath and he does all these great things and he's a geometer. But then there's Herodotus, who was also a librarian at the Alexandria Library, who came after Aristophanes and never mentions him once. So it just doesn't seem realistic. It seems like these names were applied in the past and that they were kind of covered up for. And then the stories that they tell you anyway can't possibly be true. The Aristarchus measurement of the distance to the moon is ridiculous. And somebody just mentioned, who was this the other day that mentioned it? That got me thinking. So you know how we say that we got the distance of the sun, Eru, by how?
Well, supposedly the transit of Venus, right?
Right.
Assuming Gnostically that because Venus represents the Lucifer figure. Mm-hmm. Not bad, not good, just in the Gnostic times, what represented Venus represented Lucifer. And Lucifer is like, how can you say, gemelo, the idea was like Earth and Venus had the same size.
Right.
So that this is the first assumption. And that is where the trick part is based. We are going to assume, we need to assume that tiny light in the sky has the same radius of the Earth, because if not, everything is going to, the numbers are going to match up.
Right.
So they assume that position in the first place, and then they use the transit of Venus. But the key is assuming the radius of Venus as a brother or sister of the Earth. And that came from Gnostic view. Remember that.
Right.
I don't know if I explained very well, but they use parallax, they use parallax and the transit of Venus, assuming the size or the radius of Venus, because if not, if you cannot say that, you cannot do anything,
Which is, okay, so let me make sure I have this right. Maybe I don't understand math good enough, but if you knew, let's say we did know that Venus is the same size of Earth, you don't need to know the distance or the size of the sun that it's crossing in front of?
Yeah, well,
see, I'm kind of confused by that. If we took let's say we were out looking at a mountain scene, and I'm on the left side of the screen, the view, and you're way on the right, and we both calculate when a car passes a mountain, and we know the angle that the car. So wouldn't we need more information to figure out how far away the mountain is behind it besides just me and you noticing when it passes the front end of it? And I could be wrong on that. Like, don't get me wrong. There might be a way that you could figure it out because of the, we're just taking the angles. And then if we know the speed of the car, which I guess they would say they know the speed of Venus, but then to know the speed of Venus, wouldn't you need to know its distance? So to me, it just seems like, I don't even think that their stories actually work. It's just nobody ever's looked into it. Nobody's ever followed it up because you always have this original unknown. You have the original unknown. Now they've filled in all those gaps and they made it seem like it's very perfect and everything works out. But I don't know how you got the first gap. And then think about it. When did Kristen Huygens calculate that? I believe it was 1653 or 1652. So you're talking about until we went up and verified that we were right about a complete and total guess about the size of Venus would have been 300 years or more. Actually, wait, 350.
Yeah. If you give me 3 minutes, I'm going to translate very quickly my Spanish version of 3 minutes, explaining how that goal was achieved.
Please.
And then we can play it in English, and maybe you can clear a little bit this idea.
That'd
give
be
me
great,
3 minutes.
because I'll better understand. Because I guess I need to fully understand parallax. But I thought that there has to be. I know you have to have a known baseline. That I know for sure. If you're going to do parallax, you have to have a known baseline. But you have two people. You could say, okay, these two people are on Earth, and they have a known baseline of a. But then you start getting into this whole thing where. So the way that Nathan Oakley's team over there is correct about talking about angles on a sphere is that, yes, when you're talking about a triangle, when you're actually truly using a triangle, well, all corners of a triangle are. They can't be curved. You can't do it from a curved baseline, right? But now for me, I just have a differing opinion when it comes to celestial navigation because they're using a tangent, in which case, to me, it doesn't have a curved baseline. It's got a tangent. But when you're talking about doing a triangle, like looking at let's say Venus crossing the sun. Well, if you have two people on Earth, you have to draw a straight line between them, not a curved line. Then the bottom of the triangle isn't flat. It's not straight. It's no longer a triangle. So it's necessarily not using the tangent there because you're actually looking off the Earth into the sky at a certain angle, off the Earth into the sky at a certain angle, but then between you two, there has to be a straight line. And I don't know how they necessarily do that. They just draw a line between two people on the globe. Well, it wouldn't be straight on a globe. So I get very confused. I admit that I don't understand that fully.
With celestial navigation back in the 1600s,
right?
Like real bad with trying to find the horizon or what's level is what they're really trying to find. So then they can measure the angle, to that star.
Correct.
But the horizon's apparent and it moves, with the weather and weird optical phenomena. This guy back in the 1600s came up with this thing called the whirling speculum. And this is the precursor to the gyroscope. This is where the guy who supposedly, Foucault, he got his idea for the gyroscope from this guy. And this guy figured out that if I spin this wheel real fast when the boat's in port and I keep it, going, that when I'm out at sea, I can get level by looking across this ring. They were trying it with mercury and pools of mercury and measuring angles, and they had a little bit of success. But yeah, this guy came up with a device called the whirling speculum. And it was like in the 1600s, I believe. So for a long time, they haven't had to use the horizon to get their position while celestial navigation. I mean, I couldn't do it even when I was in Indiana and everything's flat. I still had to put a bubble level on my sextant to make sure. And that's when I started getting all my degrees, to like 0.2 degrees. I was really hitting the sun right where it was. But yeah, that's the only way you can do it is if you find level. And that's why they had all that trouble out at sea. And then this guy, and they weren't on every boat. Small sailors didn't have them, I'm sure. But on the big boats where they were carrying a lot of goods, yeah, they wanted to get to where they wanted to go.
Yes, Iru.
Yes, it's finished. So if you want to, I can.
Yeah,
I
go ahead. You can
play.
share screen.
Okay, I'm sharing screen.
Let me minimize this.
Oh, I make the petition to share screen.
I'll allow it.
And this is from a Spanish documentary, so I use 11 Labs to translate it to English. So maybe it's gonna be a little weird, but because you are so intelligent, man,
Yes, we
I
get
know you can interpret this for us like a priest, you know, like a preacher.
I'll turn my back to the audience right now, and then I'll interpret it for you. Go ahead.
Okay. No, now you are presenting my old JPEG image of GPS, at least in here.
Oh shit!
on
I'm
Skype.
sorry. I thought
don't
that
know.
was what we were looking at. Okay, go ahead. Let me get rid of the chat here. Let me get rid of this side. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna play. It's 3 minutes. If you think that is not understandable, I stop and put the original trying to translate myself.
Let's try.
It's gonna sound a little bit weird. Okay, so let me just play it and a little bit fast. I cannot do anything else. Okay.
Okay.
About 90 grams tradition separates Daisa interval. That means there should be a clear difference in the times recorded by Kuhn and Hell during the transit of Venus. The basis of all angles was the Earth's diameter, whose total length was known. In order to establish the height of the triangle formed by Venus and its observers, it was necessary to know the alpha angle. The theory was that Venus would take less time to cross the Sun for observers located in the south of the planet than for those at the extreme. From these time differences, one could calculate the relationship between the apparent movement of Venus through the Sun. In the different focalizations, therefore, the angle known as parallax.
Okay, hold on. Pause real quick.
In reality,
So just thinking out loud again, my question is though that wouldn't you need to know the speed of the Venus moving or the size or the distance of the sun? But I guess maybe not. Okay, keep going. I'm just thinking ahead.
At the beginning, they are using the time delay between winter and summer of the transit of. Sorry, not winter and summer. They just because remember that this took a lot of expedition. It was involved like 20 persons and without clocks, because at that time the
pendulum clocks,
was pendulum clocks, and there is a lot of. And remember that
they had to travel there, right?
The guy.
You're talking about traveling. Yeah. Now, hold on. But you said they took 8,000 miles as the baseline, but they didn't send anybody to the North and South Pole. So of course. And some of the guys involved in the expeditions, that day was cloudy, so they cannot observe Venus, for example. Right. Yeah, I remember.
And
those plates those things are missing. All the paperwork from this observation are missing.
Yes, there are also a lot of people. Then you have the final result was presented by the Jesuit Maximilian Hell, and there was accused of false.
Yeah, where do you have that information? I've heard you talk about that before. Where's that at? Where can I find information on that?
Yeah, no, and this that text line, it is still on Wikipedia.
Really?
And I'm going to show later, but let me just. It's understandable, the audio.
Yeah, we can kind of hear it. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll stop you if we need to.
Keep playing. Okay.
in reality, parallax was nothing more than age. It's an alpha wall. It would allow us to know the distance between Venus and Earth. In fact, the mathematical operation was published by the deflection of light rays and by its own energy rotation. Despite this, once mathematicians calculated the distance between the Earth and Venus, the laws of planetary motion would allow them to calculate the rest of the distances in the solar system. And then they could determine the distance between the Earth and the Sun in absolute figures.
Subtitles made by the Amara.org community.
In Barco, Maximilian Hill recorded the data so accurately that he received the title of the best observer. But he waited a whole year to publish them. And that raised a suspicion that he had altered the data retrospectively. How? As a good Jesuit she was just being particularly thorough. But he waited a whole year to publish them. This raised suspicion that he had altered the data afterwards. However, as good result as it was just being especially rotten. Little by little, the reports from the expeditions are arriving in Paris, London, and St. Petersburg. As the major calculations can now begin. The best mathematicians in Europe participate. But it takes a year before the times recorded by the observers can be used to calculate the angle between them and the Sun. In academic circles, the level of interest remains high. The enlightened classes never tire of witnessing exhibits of Venus's passing in front of the Sun by means of magic lanterns. Finally, the director of the Paris Observatory publishes the results. A figure has been agreed upon, and now we know it comes very close to the real distance. The Earth is approximately 93 million miles from the Earth.
Yeah, I know it's a little difficult because it's overlap the audios, but let me just for finish. If I enter right now on Wikipedia and I type Maximilian Hell, they changed the article because I have the original from like 3 years ago. But if I translate this to English, let me just very quickly do this translation. Choose another language and let's go to English. It's with letter E. English. What it is here? H-A. Oh, well, what the fuck is English? It's so hard to find English.
Where is it?
English?
E-N.
Here it is.
Okay.
Here. Okay.
Oh, English
So
with
I'm
I.
going to-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here I'm going to translate, and I think Hell was appointed director. Here, there was some controversy about Hell's observation of the transit of Venus because he remained in Norway for 8 months, collecting non-astronomical scientific data about the Arctic region, which never published. Blah 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 blah. The publication of his result was delayed, and some, especially Joseph Johannes von Littrow, accused Hell posthumely of falsifying his result. And that is still on Wikipedia. And what in the documentary, what they say is that no, he didn't falsify the data because he's a good Jesuit. He just taking more time to make the predictions more achieved.
Yes, of course.
More accuracy.
He took more time.
So that is what they say in the original documentary. But the bottom line is that they first of all, they assume the radius of the Earth. Because that's okay, we live on the spherical Earth, so we're going to assume that this is a spherical Earth, we need that. Then they did it on mathematical, because again, the expeditions, nobody went to the actual North Pole and South Pole to do this exercise like here. Nobody go there. Nobody go to Antarctic and nobody go to the Arctic. So this is just a mathematical model. Then they have, if you want to, give something for real, well, with pendulum clocks and things like that, they take the time of the transit of Venus. But again, this never happens. The observations was made in some part of Europe, some part of Brazil, some part of the Argentina, that type of Australia, that type of places. No, this is an ideal experiment, but this never happened in the real life. So again, this is another assumption. Another assumption is the radius of Venus. But the important thing here is that based on this mathematical exercise, they give or they achieve the astronomical unit. So based on this mathematical model, then they put measurements all over the solar system. Assuming the radius of Jupiter and Saturn and things like that at that time. Of course, nobody can prove that, but they keep. It's like the Eratosthenes thing, make measurements on the stadiums. Once they did this, maybe they never think that they are going to one day achieve the space, to prove this as real. So they make all this assumption and they need to keep it. And from this distance of 93 million miles away, then they start using the speed of light, because this idea of 8 minutes that supposedly the sun light reach the Earth, it's based on this astronomical unit. They use the astronomical unit and say, okay, how many miles a light travel in 8 minutes? This one, okay, 93 million. Okay, now we corroborate that assumption in terms of the distance from the Earth to the sun or the sun to the Earth. I don't know if I explained a little bit. I know it sounds a little weird, but I did my best. You did good.
I forgot the, let me see real quick if I do this. 93 million divided by, there used to be this weird connection that I can't find now, but I thought it was something to do with that. Oops, damn it. I know that 93 million divided by, hold on, I just want to check something real quick. Were you done talking about that?
What?
Were you done talking about your
Isn't
what's
it?
on screen? Say again.
The 93 million is pretty recent. They've believed it was, from 3 to 12 to 33.
Yes,
I think
but
up to
that why it was really recent. No reason. Sorry. How you said, Zach? It was recent.
Recent, yeah.
It because they changed it because they used the astronomical unit as a base. That's why they need this. They need the astronomical unit. So it's very important to them. So once they establish the astronomical unit, which is 93 million miles away, then if you also assume the speed of light, there you have all the pieces. This is in kilometers. So they use this as a final result, and then they say, okay, how is the speed? Which is the speed of light? 300,000 kilometers per second. Okay, we divide the kilometers for the time. Okay, 8 minutes, done. But they need this, and that was achieved almost in the 19th century because it was 18th century, but they take a little bit time to present in the astronomical community, societies. So that is why it's relatively recent.
Yeah, I'm not getting the same number here I thought I was getting before. I thought there was some connection to be with it's 109. I remember if you take the diameter of the sun divided by 109 equals the diameter of Earth. And I thought there was some connection with the sun that somebody mentioned, but I can't figure it out now. I thought the sun's distance, oh wait, maybe it's the sun to the moon. So the moon is 2159 miles in diameter and would be 92.75. Yeah, I'll have to do that after. Anyway, don't need to do math on the show. I would probably go ahead.
Going on with numbers. Remember during the last eclipse that came across the U.S. back in 2017? The shadow was 70 miles, and it made people start thinking, well, the sun has to be bigger. So back in 2017, there's like IFL science, space.com. Solar eclipse may prove the sun is bigger than we expected, blah, blah, blah. And then now in 2023, they're saying the sun may be smaller than we thought. So it's still like up for question, even the size of the
I
sun.
think there's so many things up for question. I mean, it's insane to me. I think that we could actually derive the idea of 9.8 meters per second squared from a flat Earth, figuring all that out and getting pretty much as accurate as they get too. Because again, they tell us that that's due to gravity, right? That's the rate at things fall on Earth, but we know that it varies greatly, right? I mean, it's not just 9.8 meters per second squared. And then even that, I mean, they make it seem like it's accelerating. It's only 22 miles per hour faster with each second. Meaning that, let's say in second one, the item falls a certain distance, which would be, we could figure it out, but let's say that it's trying to think if we want to put just call it a number. We'll call it 66 feet. Okay. And then you can and let's say that's going 22 miles per hour. Then in the second, it's going 22 plus the original 22, it's going 44 miles per hour. In the third second, it's going 22 plus the 44 would be 66 miles per hour. In the fourth second, it's going 66 plus the 22, 88 miles per hour. I don't think enough people know that it's just basically increasing its original speed. And I always say this, and believe me, there's nobody on Team Jeran on this one. But I do think that the forces that we've been given, the whole physics, mathematics, and everything is a complete and total sham, that they just erase things like momentum. To me, if you drop an item, it must immediately be going faster in second 2 than it went in second 1. Doesn't need a force. It just is moving. And if something's going down, it's going to gain speed. How could it not? What would be weird to me is to look outside and see something falling at a uniform speed. That'd be weird. My first question would be, how is it not increasing in speed? It has to increase in speed. It's falling. And yet they'll tell you, there has to have a force. Well, yeah, it's falling. And I would assume that something falling, it always has to be going, well, why doesn't that work when going straight? Well, because it's not falling. Something's moving at normal speed forward. That doesn't make, I don't know. It's just me. And maybe it's a mental block that I have. Because I think if we took how do I want to explain this? The 9.8 meters per second, is there such thing as there's got to be, right? I'm going to look something up real quick. Is there a calculator for, because they take, I know that in their equations to get 9.8 meters per second squared, they're taking the mass of the Earth as if we know that, right? And they basically back engineered that from the Cavendish, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if we were to rework kind of those equations and just, you could even take like a, how do I explain it? Like if we took an infinite mass of Earth, so it's just infinite, and then we adjust everything, I think you could get to where everything on Earth falls at about 9.8 meters per second squared. And then it would completely erase their idea. I mean, it's just, again, it's going to take somebody forever, and it's going to take somebody who's smarter mathematically than me to do it, because I get confused in there with the math for sure. Because the math is supposed to be, the mass of Earth is supposed to be, I forgot what it is, 8 times 10 to the 22nd in kilograms.
Yes, it's a lot.
Yeah, so, I mean, 10 to the
You don't
22.
have that number in your bank account, that's for sure.
No. Not even in 1/10 of pennies. No, not even close. All right, what are you showing here, Euro?
Let me. I like to play
We're looking
this
at this?
because again the Jesuits are involved, but it's nice at least to leave clear that they invented the the measurement of the universe, which is crazy. You know what I mean? I mean, let me just.
It's
play,
insane. It's insane to think. I was.
It's insane.
Euro, have you heard me talk about? I don't know if you've seen the video where the guy says, if we reduce the sun to a golf ball, you know a golf ball?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I play golf.
Oh,
in my
you do?
dreams.
Okay, good. I didn't know you play golf. We got to play next sometime. All right. So
No, in my dreams. In my dreams.
Oh, in your dreams. We're not going to play in your dreams. Sorry. If we reduce the sun to a golf ball, which would make the Earth about a grain of sand, right? About maybe 10 feet away from it. So the sun is now a golf ball. How close would the next star be? So we reduce the sun to a golf ball. Now we're holding the golf ball in our hand. That's the sun. How far away would the next star be from you? What would you guess?
Well, from Los Angeles to New York.
Not quite that far, but close. It's like 755 miles.
Okay.
But it's just ridiculous because then you have to believe.
It's insane.
Then you have to believe, picture a little golf ball in the north end of California, and then there's a grain of sand, and there's little tiny beings that live on that grain of sand. To think they could calculate the distance of a golf ball 755 miles away. It's just so funny to me. Like, why are we giving these guys this credit that we didn't know any of this stuff till 50 years ago? And then all these things came through, and we just happened to live in the period of time where we figured out the age of the universe. And give me a break. The fact that people run around and proclaim that as true is just scary. Go ahead, Jeran.
Okay, I'm gonna play this very quick.
Check any of the stuff that you say. Nobody can confirm or that it's right or wrong.
No, you're the only one who's smart enough to figure it out. Amazing.
Is Star Talk, where science and pop culture collide. And tonight's topic, science and religion. And so we combed the landscape, and we found a Jesuit priest. This is the academic order of the Catholic Church, and we have with us Father Martin. Welcome to Star Talk.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Solo quiero mandar un saludo a los jesuitas que la compañía.
Sorry, I think it was all in English, but the great Tyson said, I want to say hello to the Jesuits. It's subtitle. Okay, I'm going to leave it and you can read it.
Jesús es un brazo científico importante de la Iglesia Católica y que de hecho su progreso tremendo, el de los jesuitas, contribuyeron a nuestro entendimiento a la medida del universo.
Contribuyeron a nuestro entendimiento a la medida del universo. Contribuyeron a nuestro entendimiento a la medida del universo.
Of course.
So how can you measure the universe? In
Right.
17,000.
It's so ridiculous. And then I love how they think that because we figured out physics here, they're like, well, that must apply to the universe, even though we are 0.00000000001% of the universe, and way worse than that. But because we figured out this little sector, we can apply it to everything. It's just so funny.
Yeah, and everything starts in that experiment of Venus
Right. That's
transit.
what I brought up. Yeah.
That the major key is the astronomical unit, and when you start study how many assumptions was involved, you cannot believe that we measure the universe, man. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. The sky is the only way to understand the measurements or the distances in the sky is still by angles, and angles are not distances, are not based on kilometers, nothing. It's just angles. There are angels and angles. That is why Maximilian Hell, in his Jesuit depictions, they had two women with angles. It's just, this is the angels. The angels are angled because we live in the dome, in the arc. We live in the zodiac, in the zoo arc. So we live under the arc, and the arc is an arc. How you measure an arc?
Right.
An arc you measure in angles, and that is all. It's just based on angles. You cannot create this or measure distances in the sky.
No.
Can you zoom in on that picture she has down there to the right, Iru? Yeah, look at that. A flat plane with angles taken off of it.
Yeah.
Going to one.
I wonder what that says. I can't really read it.
This is, if you want to have the correct interpretation, this is the sun, and this is the transit of Venus on the special location, and this a little bit higher sphere is the other transit of Venus. But this is the actual, and this is a line of is the path of the transit. This is not a flat plane. This is not the sun. The sun is this big circle, and this small circle is the Venus.
Yes, this is where I get confused, because I understand that there's, with scaling invariance, that the sun doesn't have to be 867,000 miles wide and 93 million miles away. You can adjust for that, right? So
Yes.
if it's half of that distance, so what would that be? 94 would be 47. So it's 46 and a half, right? So 46 and a half million miles would render the sun to be half as big, correct? Or is it twice as big? Now I'm confused. Half. And so you can keep going down until you get to a 3,959 mile distance, and then the sun is only 32 miles wide, right? So you can scale invariance. But my question is, if you can do that and Venus crosses it, then I don't understand how you could ever determine anything from it, because they're basically saying, oh, we saw it cross, so we know that Venus is this distance, and we know the sun is this. Well, no, you don't, because the sun could be any distance from us. Between, you just have to adjust it equally. You can't bring it closer and not change its size. Right? Am I making sense? Maybe I'm not making sense. But
no, well, I am not a man of mathematics, but if you want to, I can play this in Spanish and translate myself.
Sure, try it.
And maybe there is something, in these words that it wasn't translated by the 11 labs. Let me just see what it said.
Okay.
Unos 90 grados de latitud separan
90 degrees of latitude separate Tahiti of Bordeaux. Bordeaux is a French city, I think.
So Tahiti in France?
That means that it must be a different time of the observation of the Venus transit.
I mean, it's such bullshit nonsense. How would they have known with time zones?
Oh, sorry, I was playing.
I was saying, how would they know with time zones? How would they even know to sync up their clocks?
No, again,
they're pendulums.
No, of course. But the guy is going to say the base of all the experiment. And let me just explain.
Okay,
so
Todos los cálculos era el diámetro de la Tierra.
The base, and that is exactly what we're trying to say of this in this topic. The base of all calculations was the radius of the Earth. That is, if you don't assume the radius of the Earth, supposedly presented by Eratosthenes, you don't have nothing. Nothing. And that is the base of all these calculations.
Cuya longitud total era conocida, con objeto de establecer la altura del triángulo formado por Venus.
Supposedly with the promise of establish the height of the triangle. It's not related with maybe what would you ask in terms of the distances and things like that. But I think if you start assuming the radius of Venus and radius of the Earth, and you do it's the same exercise that you critique of the moon distance.
Right.
It's the same thing. But again, the base of all the calculations was assuming the radius of the Earth and assuming the radius of Venus.
Yeah, and so based on that idea that we're doing with the moon or whatever, it just seems to me that you have to know those things before you can make assumptions. Yeah, sure, you can see the Venus cross it, but I don't feel like. But I guess that they're going to say that they knew the relative distances of all the planets based off the AU, not based off of actual distances.
Yes.
I think that's
I
always
think
find it
that is.
Say again?
Go ahead, here. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No. I say yes to Jeran words.
I was just going to say that the transit, how many times? I mean, it doesn't happen very often. And doesn't Venus go around the sun 5 times for one of our years?
Yeah, it's always above or below, they say. Because it's only 2 times every 100 years, I think, is what it does.
And it's so rare to happen that it doesn't make sense for something that, yeah, I don't know.
Well, it makes a lot more sense to me if it's a tiny thing that goes around the sun. Right? I mean, that's what basically I think it is. I think that there's just something in the sky that's tiny that orbits the sun. So it's not even, again, so to figure out what it is, or to me, I would need to know the size of the sun, the distance to the sun. And again, globers think, well, we have that. We'll just give it to you. No. I mean, actual have it. But we can't measure it. It's like Eru says, it's in the sky. It's a celestial item.
It's in the sky, yeah.
And I'm not even sure a celestial item can be calculated like that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. But it's all they need to establish the light years. Because if not, you don't have light years. You don't have that.
Exactly. What did happen here?
Exactly is my word. If you want, you can use another one. Exactly, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to see it that way.
If you want to see it that way, though.
Forbidden for you, man. Because you are an English guy. So you can have another word.
Zach, you know, you always says if you want to see it in that way. You should have heard the intro for our summit. The guy's doing a poem.
Yeah, I heard it. It was hilarious. Yeah.
So funny. And the guy writing the poem says, Eru is a Jesuit slayer, doing something by day and night. And if you want to do this, if you want to see it in that way. So funny.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Good stuff. Anyway, very funny stuff. All right.
Stop sharing, man.
Thank you.
People are looking at our icons.
Let me see. I'll change it for you. And then I'll check the super chats. I know I stopped looking as I was looking up something, trying to find something I couldn't find. But let me check what we've got here. Thank you guys for joining us today. We've got fan, super chat, live chat. There we go. Dr. Bass Ackwards in the house. Nice. There's no mask for Spaceballs. No, it's definitely craziness. Not even the Irish rovers are on the moon. No. But there's one on Mars for sure. How do people believe this? Eru, tell me. I don't believe it.
What? I was.
So they believe. How do they believe that there's a rover on Mars? There's actually people who believe this. You know.
Just one?
I think there's tons.
We have the Viking. We have a lot of things, man.
Good point. They've got so-called a ton of them, and they even have things that beam satellites. You know, the info back off of the orbiting satellites to Earth. It's great stuff. Great stuff. You know who's been talking to me a lot, guys?
Sat for Japan, another spacecraft that had troubles.
Wait, tell us what happened, because I think I missed this one.
Well, supposedly the lander was upside down and the solar panels aimed to the ground, so they cannot receive any more signal from the spacecraft, but they deploy like a spherical tiny nano rover, which take like 2 photographs of the ground, and they send it to Earth, and they are all celebrating in Japanese style.
They have better things to do than suffice flat earthers, all right?
Yes, of course, man. But it's amazing. You know, the time goes by and nobody land to the moon with the feet on the ground. You know, they are all landing upside down with everything. You know, there is always something happen. There's, you know, the Jewish people crashed the spacecraft. The whatever. The Indians, yes, they dropped it, but in the other side of the moon, you know, in the south side part of the moon, so nobody can check it, nobody can see it. It's story. Yeah,
it's crazy. And the people who think that proof that we went to the moon too is that the LRO images match the moon landing images. Zero.
Yes, but they turning off the eclipse days.
Yeah, it's eclipse. We can't too much. We can't do that.
Yeah, because the battery get low, and maybe they cannot start again the motors of the spacecraft. Yeah,
it's crazy. It is crazy. And what are you gonna do? You know? Oh wait, what is? That's what it is.
Well, we can create our space agency and use CGI and say we put a bunch of people around the television and makes applauding applaud and we celebrate, and maybe we call
We
the
should really
attention
do
of the
that.
media, and they're going to dismiss our moon landing.
We should really do that.
Yeah, I always dream with that, and we talk here in Spanish community with a lot of, but doing like a prank, doing really well. We put things on place. We put a lot of monitors and people doing with the sad faces because we lose connection. We do the whole theater, and then we just celebrate very, very loud a CGI made by me, if you want, landing on the moon, with numbers and trajectories, and everyone applaud, and then
That'd be so funny.
yeah, and we can use, for example, an actual space launch of SpaceX or NASA. We changed the logo, which is very, very easy nowadays with the camera tracking. So that is our space. We change a little bit the launch pad, things like that, and then we just ask question of the media like, where do you do it? Where is your space station? Whatever.
What do you guys do for lunch?
Attention,
Right. How do you eat up there? And we just give them answers. We could do it.
We did the press conference. We do everything. It's very cheap. I mean, it's not it's something that we need to build everything from the ground. We just show CGI.
But it would be more expensive to fake it than it would be to go. So we should just go.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what.
Has the Argentine president ever said anything about space yet, Iru?
No, nothing. The president of Argentina is a friend of Elon Musk, so they are just trying to bring the Starlink connection to Argentina. Is the most close to space that we are.
Let me ask you that, Iru. What do you?
Is talking here.
What is your thought about that? I mean, I know Austin and I kind of have the same opinion that I'm not totally against things being up there, but what do you think are like Starlink? What is that? Any idea?
I saw it twice here in Argentina. The train of this light in the sky. I think I have the same opinion. Maybe it's a mixed opinion because could be some organized balloons. Remember, if you enter into Stratostar, which is a company works with NASA from the 60s to our days, they have militaries and telecommunications stratospheric balloons completely controlling from the ground with fans at the size of the balloon. It's just fans, and they can manage and drive from the ground. This type of stratospheric balloons could be some type of drone technology that maybe I don't understand, or could be something that they after so many years and decades studying the upper electromagnetic field, maybe they can put some technology up there. But because we have the ISS, we have the Starlink satellite, and also we have the Humanity Start, which is something similar to ISS in terms of what you can see, but I don't know exactly what type of technology they can use to do that. But that is not related with the spherical or flat Earth. Of course, in the mind of the people, they think that there are satellites, and we need to give some opinion of that. But we are still trying to find the curve in our land here.
Yeah, I don't know either on that one.
I think in those three things, but I cannot take a position. If it's the stratospheric balloon, drone technology, or so upper high electromagnetic field going around and they put something there, I don't know.
I think they would be dumb for us to believe that they can't do that. I mean, it seems like it would be something that they could figure out. They've got all this. I mean, when I started reading about the jet streams, you think things would like convince me, like, oh, Jeran, you're probably wrong about this. And the more I read about the jet streams, the more I'm like, wow, not only do I seem right, but they're capable of so much more than I even give them credit for. I mean, nowadays they have, they send up 2,000 balloons a day, the radio sonde balloons or whatever, and they get the speed of the winds and everything, and then they put into a formula that gives them basically throughout the whole day where all the speeds will be, where the jet streams are, and then that's how they operate planes. And so when I was looking at why do they send I thought it was more weather data, and it is some weather data, but mostly it's to calculate winds and all these things so that they can then put it into the air traffic controllers. And even the air traffic controller themselves don't do most of the work. meaning it is all done computers. And actually, that's maybe I'm no longer afraid to fly because I think computers are flying planes. Before, when I thought it was people on a ball Earth, I was holding the handles and saying the Our Father the whole time. Not so much anymore. Now that this is makes a lot more sense than I thought. Let me see if I was going to check super chats and see. YouTube says Elon's car had to stop off at Jupiter to get more gas. You don't need gas in space. Come on. And it's easy to measure distances in space too, because it's distance over time. So you're going for 4 hours and then you know your distance by, I guess, looking at there's no ground. Wonder how you know the distances in space. That'd be hard to do too. We've got Lie to Me says, or gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. And Balliet Brand, 3311. Nice numbers. A new subscriber. Great show. Found you from your interview with Ken Wheeler and David Weiss. That was a fun interview, although I found out after, I think Ken Wheeler was paid to be there. So that made it a little bit different in my mind. Because he seemed to kind of go easy on us and just kind of agree. And it was like, oh, that was easy. And then we find out after, I think somebody paid him to join us. Not anybody from us, but I mean like somebody who wanted to hear him talk to GLOBEBUSTERS paid him a big sum of money, and he probably didn't want to take a chance at not getting that money. So he just sat there and went, yeah, all right, whatever you guys say. But I mean, he's definitely on. I think he's one of the smartest guys I've ever heard. And what he's got to say definitely is what tells me that, what we've been told about these forces and things is just dead wrong. Not to mention the fact of what we do. Feynman says if your theory doesn't match the observations, then you throw away the theory. And we've completely flipped that on its head now. And if the theory doesn't match the observations, again, now I know people think Einstein said that. I've never found a attribute to him or a reference or a citing for where he said that. So I just wouldn't say that anymore. Same thing with Tesla saying the Earth is a realm. I've never found that either. I wouldn't say that anymore. But there is people who said things very close. And I'm talking about the quote that says, if the facts don't meet the theory, change the facts. I wonder if I don't even know if you type that in, will it say who it thinks did that? If the facts don't meet the theory, change the facts. Meet the theory, or will it say Einstein? Change the facts. There's a Cora. Did Einstein ever say, if the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts? The quote could be interpreted as, what does Einstein's quote? Well, maybe it does say Einstein. Apparently Einstein recognized the human tendency of lying. Wait, here it says the quote was actually by King Alfonso the Wise of Castile. See here, I'm trying to see if there's anybody. It does say Albert Einstein.
Maybe the origins of that phrase was made by another guy, but it seems like Einstein used it.
Maybe he used it. Okay. And again, even you could be looking at it a couple different ways, which is like go back out and observe again, or just change the facts, right? But that seems to be, think about what Stephen Hawking did, right? Stephen Hawking went out with a theory about the Earth that the helicopter would hide behind the hill of water. It didn't, so they changed the facts. Now it did. See, now they just lied about it. But again, that to me is their method for everything. You see something higher? Well, then refraction raises items up. Oh, but I keep doing this test and it shows it lower. Well, refraction raises items up. So they've now, rather than change the theory, change the facts. Huh?
Jeran, do you think they're really that bad at editing and putting a deception together? Or do you,
No, I think that had to be on purpose. I mean, there's no other explanation for that. I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's one of the weirdest things because it really either should tell us that we are being gaslit, right? That we're being purposefully led to hate each other and to fight with each other over something that they are actually the ones putting into place. Because if you're a scientific, it also tells me that Stephen Hawking is not, or he's dead now, but even at the time, I believe that he was either compromised or they spoke completely for him. Because there's no way, if you're a physicist, if you're Stephen Hawking, let's pretend that he's real. Okay, let's pretend he's this real smart guy, went to Cambridge or whatever, is like one of the smartest guys in the world, they would say, okay, you're that guy. And they say, hey, we're going to do a show. We're going to put your name on it. It's going to be called Stephen Hawking Genius. We're going to show people how to get the shape of the Earth. Okay, great. And then they tell him at some point, by the way, we're going to fake this experiment because we can't get it. There's no way he would say, okay. There's no way. And so the fact that it went through tells me, number one, that had no say in it. He couldn't have. And so that tells me if he had no say in it, he probably doesn't have no say, period. Right? Like they're just like wheeling him out there. He's sitting there as an invalid and they can make him say whatever he wants. And that seems to be the case. Like even when he's sitting on that show and Sagan and that guy are talking to him, right? And they're like laughing at him. Remember, you know that scene?
Yeah. There is also this famous guy that a billion.
Yeah, that guy, his Sagan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
I have it. It's Arthur C. Clarke.
Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke. That's right. That is him.
Yes, Arthur C. Clarke is there. It's also this famous guy. Which is the name? I forget the name. And I mean, Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
Carl Sagan and Stephen Hawking and his computer and his master typing behind the curtains.
He's like using his cheek. They say, right?
Yes, supposedly the cheek or the eyes. I cannot remember exactly. It's very funny. Even C. Clarke started laughing, and contagious.
I found
Carl Sagan. It was a complete mess, but it was nice to see again.
Most of these are like 52 minutes long. I do see one here that's 3 minutes. I just want to see what part this is.
Yeah, you are not sharing with us.
Yeah, I'm going to put it over here. Give me a second.
Another thing.
This is not it. Sorry.
It's funny too, but it's not that. It's down there, the 52 minutes.
Wait, so there's all this one, but I don't know which...
No, go down. Well, there you have it. The second one. Go up. That one.
But it's 52 minutes. I don't know which part. I was hoping somebody had cut out the part that we want to watch.
You're going to find that exactly part? Okay.
I just wanted to see. This one's like 6. Is Stephen Hawking the god of science? Let me see this. I just want that one part, but they're like laughing at him.
Human reason, for then we would know the mind of God. Do you think that God can intervene in the universe as he wants, or is God too bound by the laws of science?
The question of whether God is bound by the laws of science is a bit like the question, can God make a stone that is so heavy?
Yeah, it's impossible.
How can he respond so quickly? I mean,
he
needs to find the letters.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Well, I've shown people.
He's Terminator.
It's impossible.
15.
And I've shown people that there's an interview that he's doing with, I don't remember if it's Neil deGrasse or somebody. It's on one of my videos. They show the scene from behind him, and behind him, all that he's saying is already typed on the screen, and it's before he said any of those things. So either it's been pre-typed, he's already been, somebody's already given him the answers, which I'm sure if you ask somebody, they would say, that's what happened. They would say, oh no, they put it in for time. They've put its answers pre-answered. I could listen to it a billion times more. Anyway, but Stephen Hawking to me couldn't have been part of that experiment, or else he wouldn't have authorized them to fake it. Thank you. Lie to me. 10 memberships. And then we got Lie to Me saying, is the Starlink light train trail getting longer? No, because they keep putting it up in groups, and supposedly they're supposed to spread out or something over time. Isn't that what you hear, Ira? Supposed to spread out those dishes or whatever.
It goes so eventually you don't see them anymore too. You usually only see them like right when they're let go for a little bit of time. I think a couple revolutions around the Earth, and then after that they get high enough to where you're not. Otherwise, the sky would just be dotted everywhere. We'd see them all over the place.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Just trying to see here if I could find this, and I don't see it. All right. So, yeah, they're just laughing at him. But anyway, I know what you're saying is that your question is basically, do I think it's a possibility that that's like an editing mistake, or what do you mean, Zach? What was your question about the experiment with the Stephen Hawking show and the helicopter?
Well, yeah, I mean, when they were showing the two different ones, it was obvious as the boat went across in front of them that they were using the same exact shot at that time.
Right, but they faked it. I mean, it's completely. I'll show it one time here. Let me find this guy's video, because I think this is important. Because here's the thing: I know if you're like me,
that on purpose. Are they faking it on purpose?
Yes, because here's the thing: if you're like me, then you've got this. I don't know if somebody's faking something, right? Doesn't that tell us? Oh, this is why I'm in my history. Like this doesn't look like my history. It's GLOBEBUSTERS history. Say again.
So they're just faking it so poorly. You would think that they could fake it and do a better job. It's almost like they're trying to make it obvious that they're faking it. If you're really looking.
So why would they do that though? So is it to get...
I don't know. And it's not just this one, like the 24-hour down in Antarctica where they use the same exact clouds coming in at the beginning and the end. Just weird little things like that. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you purposefully put something in there that people could say, hey, this isn't real. Here's the deception right here.
Especially if you're science. If you're science and you've got this whole thing to uphold, which is that you don't lie. You are unbiased, right? When you lie on a scientific program, you're admitting that you're biased. So that's to me like, okay, when I first started doing this 9 years ago, my thought was, okay, I'm going to do a couple videos and then something will come out that will show that I'm wrong and I'll be done. That was my goal. My goal was to figure out what I was doing wrong, figure out why I couldn't figure this out on my own. And somebody would step up, whether it be science or somebody, and show how we're wrong. And instead, they've lied about my experiment. They changed things. They gave somebody a circumnavigation record who didn't circumnavigate. They changed things online. They fixed their algorithms. They changed the site that I used to go to for Planetarium because the North Star didn't move. Everything that they've done has led me to believe we're being lied to, and nothing that they've done is confirmation of what I was taught. And this is the thing that I feel like Globers, if they can't see that, I need to get it across to them and say, did Stephen Hawking fake the helicopter experiment? They cannot answer no, because it's impossible. It's a fact. And this is where I think, like, if we can't get them to admit facts, then we just need to completely remove them from us entirely. And I mean, block them, block their channels, block anybody who watches them, because now they're just disinformation agents. And we shouldn't have to deal with that. We shouldn't have to deal with fighting through being lied to. And on top of that, we've got these guys going around lying on behalf of the liars. That becomes just impossible to handle. Let me see if I can find this real quick here. I wanted to show that. Okay.
My name is Stephen Hawking.
Hi, Stephen. How are you? Thanks for lying to the world. All right. So this is what we're talking about here. And again, anybody who wants this particular video, you just need to go and find the Genius episode, or I can give it to you. But let me square this up a little better. Just because this is what I'm talking about. And this is the same thing as Nat Geo. These are not, oh, maybe, right? When we look at the horizon and we say, it's curving, it's not curving, those are all maybes, right? Like maybe it's curving, maybe it's not. Maybe it's doing this, maybe it's not. But we can't really tell. It's very difficult to know. Now, you've got two people who have different opinions. They're going to have two different assessments of that situation. There is no way to have a different assessment of what we're about to see here, which is at this experiment, which is supposedly supposed to show the shape of the Earth. These guys bust out a telescope. This guy's looking at this craft, and it gets here and it's lowering itself below the horizon. Turn this down a little bit. And then those birds go by and blah, blah, blah.
It completely disappears from my line of sight.
Can you see us landing?
And this guy's just a liar. This girl's a liar.
They're still flying, but I can't see it. This is crazy.
We have landed in our position.
Okay, Joey, go ahead and lift off.
Where's the split screen? Oh, it's this
They
part.
plan to ascend until Jim can...
Okay,
I'll never look at a lake the same way. I'll never look at a big body of water the same way now that I know it's following the curvature of the Earth.
So she knows that it's following the curvature of the Earth. Of course.
We synchronized the liftoff and landing.
And I did a show with the guy, Caleb, that made this video the other day, and he's showing here that when we put those side by side, now this is where there's not a question here of whether or not this is a faked observation. Look at the ocean or the lake. They are identical. So at this identical time, how can there be a helicopter in one scene and not the other? It's the same exact scene. You'll notice here with the helicopter lowering, look at the water. So this is not a mistake in editing. This is not a oversight. This is clear, purposeful deception. 100%. Faked footage. What does it mean? It means either the helicopter was erased from a scene or the helicopter was inserted into the scene. because the scene is not real. Now you see this thing's going down. Now this tide's coming up. That's fake. It's impossible. Look at the water. Look at the birds coming. This is trick photography, 100%. It can be nothing else.
So can you play again? Because maybe they just create the mask on the superior part and they rewind.
What do you mean? Okay, hold on. Go back to here. Let me turn this up right.
It's following the curvature of the Earth.
So we synchronized the liftoff and landing at the exact moment the helicopter crosses the horizon. Nothing has been altered, and the official time code of the full program is given.
Okay, so like here, they're showing, this is showing the time of the video. So at 13 minutes, it's showing the thing landing. And
that part it's completely understandable. I want to see if a little bit on top of the blue line in the horizon. I trying to detect if they are using backward video.
Oh, you mean just for the helicopter though, not for the water?
Yes.
Gotcha.
The helicopter here is about to descend below the horizon, and the helicopter here is about to crest the horizon and enter our line of sight. The waves of the lake in both scenes are identical, and the helicopter
is crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. That's impossible.
It's impossible. It infuriates me because it's like, why is nobody speaking out about this? I asked Toon and I asked FTFE, and they both said the same thing. We don't care. I said, listen, I said, if I faked an experiment like this, if I went out to a lake, showed you guys a helicopter either going behind or not going behind, and you determined that I faked it, you would attack me in every possible way. And my video would have gotten 5,000 fucking views. This video gets multi-millions of views, and you don't care? I mean, that tells you the kind of person they are. It doesn't matter if you showed me a faked flat earth experiment and it was able to be proven like this, that it was faked, I'd be the first one to speak out against it. I would never say, I don't care. It's a flat earther doing an experiment and they faked it. I don't care. That's the mentality of these people. What do you mean you don't care? You don't care that you're science? You are doing shows every day. But I get why they don't care. They don't care because they're making money. They're having fun, joking around, making fun of flat earthers. What do they care? They're not actually after the truth. There's nobody in the history of the world that's ever said, I don't care about a lie and then said, I'm a truther. I care about the truth. What about this guy who lied? I don't care. I don't care. What a big deal. Who cares? It just doesn't happen.
Okay, you play.
Yes, we'll play. Sorry. There we go. So he's here. He's just kind of tapping the key to get the. I see what you're saying. Is it rewound? But it can't be because the ocean stays the same.
The same.
No, yeah, but they can put a simple mask. Yeah, but the top on the bottom top.
Okay, so what would be the only reason to what would be the only reason to mask it though?
What?
What would be the reason to mask it?
No, to use just a helicopter going up and down and nothing else.
Yeah, but why not?
The lie is that they synchronize or things like that.
But there was no helicopter that went behind any water here either.
No, that's for sure. Yeah,
because if that were true, then they would just record it coming up. It's that simple.
Yeah, no, yes, that's for sure.
And this is what I don't understand. If the Earth is curved, and it's so simple that we've known for thousands of years, then fucking prove it. Show it. You had a chance with Nat Geo. You had a chance with this show. But instead, the producers and the head of this show chose to fake it. And this is why I try so hard to get in touch with Joy NG or with Kat Bobineau or with Jim Fitzsimmons. Explain to me why you would let yourself be on a science show. This girl, Joy NG, works for NASA. She's the head of visual sciences or something for Goddard. Why would you put yourself on a show that's going to lie to the world about the shape of the Earth? Now, they may not know that the shape of the Earth is a lie. They may have been told some story like, well, we're having a hard time getting the helicopter to be seen from that distance, so we're just going to insert it. But how do you allow that to happen? What kind of person are you to be like, okay, or Kat Bobineau. Here, Kat, we're going to need you to say this line. What? It says, I'm not a scientist, but I am a scientist. Yeah, we need you to say I'm not. I'm out then. Sorry, I'm not going to lie. I'm a scientist. Science doesn't lie. Why would I come on your television show that's supposed to be about science and then tell a lie to the world by saying I'm not a scientist? Dude, they can go look up my name on the internet and see that I am a scientist. Yeah, we need you to lie. Okie dokie. I mean, it's just, it doesn't even register in my world. Like, what do you mean? For somebody to sit down and purposefully insert a helicopter into a scene, and then you have Jim sitting there, well, then it lowered down and it went behind the horizon. If that's true, Jim, then why didn't they just film it coming back up? It doesn't make any sense what you're saying. It doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't work.
Scenes. These scenes are trick photography and not true recordings.
Why are we allowing trick photography? And again, if the Globers wanted an ounce of respect, they would make a video tomorrow saying, excuse me, those of you higher up in science, we are here every day trying to teach the world that flat earthers are wrong and that the globe earth is the truth. And you get a platform where you're going to reach millions of people and you fucking faked it. What is wrong with you? That's what needs to happen if we were a real society of people. If we were actual society, we would, as a group, recognize somebody's lying to us. Instead, these fuckers go, I don't care. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Earth's still a globe. Doesn't matter how much I lie about it, Jeran, Earth's a globe. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just be a puss like you. Just, yeah, whatever. Lie to me a bunch. It's a globe. It's no big deal. Why would they lie? Because why not? They could just show it. They could just show the helicopter. But instead, let's lie about it. Makes a lot of sense.
Big shout out over on Rockfin. Glenda Safkin, $10.
Glenda, thank you.
Murray Cole, big supporter. He's always over there supporting on Thursday night, Globebuster Tech Show. Murray, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Always
Murray.
a pleasure, man.
Finish this off and then move.
As it lands, it completely
Okay,
disappears
what's
from
your
my line of
elevation
sight.
right now?
So, like, if that's true, then if he's telling the truth there, then they would just have filmed it.
These are the same scenes with extra magnification.
Again, it can't even be rewound, or else they rewound the footage and kept the water the same as earlier, which doesn't even make sense. Just put it behind new water, take a scene of the water, and be done with it. So it's almost like they wanted us to find this, or else why would it be so easy? And they wanted it to be clear cut. This is not a questionable thing. So like I told...
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the stuff I don't get. It's like, why would you do this? And it's not just this. There's all kinds of stuff. It's like, really?
Yeah, the Nat Geo, the Behind the Curve. I mean, Behind the Curve is like so obvious because they even faked the drawing that they have. The little drawing of the guy that drops, he's like holding the light above his head. Well, because that raising a light from your chest to above your head is not 6 feet, but they had to fake that. Yeah. So they dropped the ground on both sides, and then they have to extend the line, and it happens all in a second in their little cartoon. So they knew what they were doing because there's no other. Why did you drop the line to make it look like there was further distance when there wasn't? And they didn't do it on the other side, or else then all of a sudden the camera's not 17 feet off the ground. It's different. You just lowered the ground, but they only did it on one side. They knew what they were doing.
It worked.
And this one, I mean, come on.
I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim, and it just came to me, that was incredible.
Liar.
Okay. Just came
My
to
name
her.
is Kat Bobina, and I am a scientist.
Yeah, it's just such a lie. This is the video from before this show. So this was on YouTube before the show, and she says, "Hi, I'm Kat Bobina. I'm a scientist." And then on the show, "I'm not a scientist, and it just came to me in a whim, and then now we know the shape of the Earth." It's like, to me, it's just, if I was a science backer, I'd be so embarrassed and so ashamed that I keep going out and saying science is true, science is right, science is analytical, and it's always it's never subjective. And then to have those guys keep going on TV and lying, I would have a problem with it. But our Globers don't, and this is what tells me it's a religion, and it's about them keeping their. And this is why I don't understand Toon. McToon's a Christian supposedly. At least the other guys are atheists, which makes more sense to me. I get it why they have to hold so strongly to their opinion. But somebody who's a Christian, how many times are you going to let people lie on your behalf before you think, well, maybe what I'm backing here is a lie? Because otherwise, why not just show it? Why wouldn't it be? It's been 9 years. Nobody can go and just show the shape of the Earth and prove it on a TV show or something. Where's Neil deGrasse Tyson doing a 2-hour Cosmos special where they just show proof? If helicopters hide behind 6 miles or 24 feet of water, then just show it. That's it. Instead, you got to fake it. And then, that's fake too, because they're like, how high up are you? And he says 24 feet. And like, 24 feet. Okay, 24 feet. That's how far. And then you go do the curve calculation. And what is the drop on 6 miles? 24 feet. But here's the problem. They didn't include a observer height. And if you include the observer height, it's not 24 feet, it's 10 feet. So therefore, the helicopter hid behind 10 feet of water. It doesn't even, that's why I say Stephen Hawking couldn't have been a part of this, or he's not a physicist. Because there's no way he would allow that. He would know things like that. He wouldn't just be like, oh, go do the math on how much the Earth curves in 6 miles. How much? 24 feet? Okay. Just say when the helicopter gets up to 24 feet it's so ludicrous. That's what liars do. That's what pretenders and fakers and deceivers do. Not physicists, not people like PBS that you would think would care. But again, tells us who butters their bread, who is really in charge here. And I just want people to realize, science is lying to you. They are lying to you about the shape of the Earth. Or else, why did this video ever come out? And why have they never had to make a statement? So for me, I'm going to push hard at these people. I'm going to keep writing to Kat, I want them to get on the record saying something. Joy NG, head of the NASA Goddard Visual Arts Studio, who says in her own words, well, let me find this real quick. And the thing is, she has such a unique name, Joy NG. Well, just search that and you can find, there's nobody else named that. So you could find her all over. And she's a multimedia lead for NASA Goddard. But she starts out by saying, I'm a producer, shooter, editor in a non-fiction storytelling with a history of creating award-winning science documentaries. Non-fiction, we just watched fiction. We just watched it. You inserted a helicopter that isn't there in reality. So you are a fiction storyteller. So I just have a problem with, we're going to let people work for NASA that just lie to your face? I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's like, and Kat Bobineau, I'm not a scientist. I am a scientist. Okay, well, that's another person. Didn't take long to find her. It's not like I had to go digging. I searched Kat Bobineau, and up comes her YouTube channel, and there's a video of her saying she's a scientist. I remember when I first saw that, I'm like, what the F? I'm like, okay, maybe she became a scientist because of that video. Maybe they gave her like some sort of a reward for it. No. She was a scientist before it. And then it was like, all right, let me look into these other people. And I did talk to, I emailed back and forth to that Jim Fitzsimmons. And of course, he kept wanting to poke me to give up what questions I was going to ask him. He's like, well, I'm not coming on your show unless you tell me the questions ahead of time. I'm like, shit, should I just surprise? And I'm not into like that whole ambush reporting. So I was like, well, I do want to ask why Kat Bobineau said she's a scientist, not a scientist when she is. And then also I have questions about when you leveled the laser on the thing to the boat and the helicopter going behind the wall. And then he's just like, no, I'm not interested. Thanks. That was it. So again, these people are just, don't they feel bad? Don't they feel, I don't know. To me, if I was like, okay, let's go do this Flat Earth documentary. Okay, I'll be in on it. And then halfway through it, somebody said something to me like, hey, Jeran, we're going to fake this part. Like, what do you mean? Oh, we're going to fake like we see the mirror flash, but we don't see the mirror flash. I'd be like, I'm out of here. What are you talking about? I'm not being any part of this. And in fact, if that video comes out, I'm going to tell everybody that you faked it. I'm not going to let you get, these guys are like, I don't care. I don't care for the truth. Even if it's for the truth, even if the earth is flat, I'm not going to allow you to fake experiments to show it. Because if it's flat, then show it. So it just seems to me like we're in a bad place when we've got people willing to lie to you over nothing. Especially if it's true, why didn't somebody just say, can't we just go do it for real? Why do we need to put a helicopter behind it? And you think of all the people involved that had to know about this. Right? It wasn't just like some rogue editor who's like, I'm going to fake this part. All the people involved in the show knew what happened. And yet they're all okay with it. So, was that it for Rockfin tips, Zach?
Yeah, let me check again. I believe so. Yeah.
That's a good idea. Hi, Brenda. Congratulations on the gift membership. Brenda's a member? Brenda, you need to tell me why you allow Stephen Hawking to lie. And she'll, you know what she's saying? I don't care. Earth's still a globe. Stephen Hawking can lie as much as he wants. It's like,
man.
Thank you for gifting 5 global. Too bad you can't like gift memberships, but exclude certain people. That'd be funny. Somebody told me we can give away memberships. Do you know anything about that? I don't see it on here. $. Membership giving. Buy membership for viewers. Well, I know you could do that. Make your message stand out. Super stickers, super chat, unblock members only perks. Oh, I thought that
you have to do it when you're a woman in STEM in the Bay Area, and Kat Bobineau meet up with you for brunch, it says.
What? If you have to be a woman in STEM. Wait, I'm gonna go meet her. Is that from her website?
It was from 5 days ago on her YouTube page. Any women in STEM in the Bay Area interested in meeting up for brunch?
Oh, my wife's gonna call her. My wife's gonna call her. She's gonna say, "Are you a scientist or not?" Which one is true? You either are or you aren't.
Wasn't seeing anything for NASA, but then here on her Facebook, I see.
No, she didn't work for NASA. She worked for PBS.
Okay,
but she is a scientist according to her own
channel with NASA in here. Student Airborne Research Program.
Did you say a year?
Student Airborne Research Program. I'm not sure what it is. It's a NASA thing that she's pushing right now.
Oh, no, I don't know. I was reading Joy NG's here thing. It says basically, I've contributed work to NASA, National Geographic. Imagine that. Discovery, PBS, the Royal Society, the Royal. Oh, you know what I want to look into? If she was involved in that Nat Geo special, then we really have an issue. That means she's faked it twice on purpose. And then that person knows what's going on. You can't just keep lying. I mean, there's no way she doesn't know. She's like a bigwig. She's a producer in nonfiction storytelling with a history of creating award-winning science documentaries and digital communications campaigns. I'm proficient at in-depth research, have a knack for asking good questions, love to share the humanity behind science stories, and I'm always looking for new ways to explore film and audio. I've contributed to NASA, National Geographic, Discovery, PBS, the Royal Society, the Royal Institution, Wonderstruck, BBC, Channel 4. So, boy, and I'm currently head of the multimedia team in NASA's Sun Science Division, so that's all fake. In 2022, I received the Popular Media Award from the American Astronomical Society for my work covering Parker's solar probe, milestone of touching the sun. I also led a digital campaign around this monumental science achievement that received 2 Shorty Awards. I am a confident editorial producer, self-shooter, and video editor with experience using ranges of cameras, blah, blah, blah. And I also lie on certain television programs. It doesn't say that. I added that. All right,
she's like, I tell people they're Navy SEALs. Probably not even really a scientist. She just tells people she is.
She won a bunch of awards. The Robert H. Goddard Exceptional Achievement Award in Science. NASA's Videographer of the Year, 2018. Finalist for the Professional Documentary Raw Science Film Festival. Education and Exploration Best Social Media Campaign, the Webby Awards. Short Story Award. Solar Physics Division Popular Media Award. Government and Politics Award. Wow. So it pays to make things up, I guess. And she speaks Chinese, in case you wanted to know that. I wanted to know. All right, let's head out of here. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. We will see you again. I believe we have a show next week. I have a schedule now. We know when we have shows. How about that? Let me check and make sure that when's our next day off. I know we have days off coming up in March, as we'll change seasons then. Let's see here if it takes me forever to log in. But in 1 second, we'll get there. And I believe we are next week. Let's see, what is next week going to be? We're moving into February. And wow. Next week is the 4th. Okay. Yeah, so next week we have a show. Our next weekend off isn't until the 17th of March, so you have nothing to worry about for a while. And we'll go around and say our final goodbyes and what's coming up this week for us. What say you, Iru?
All right. Well, nice show, first of all. Nice show. And nothing. I mean, I just arrived to Argentina, so I'm going to be this week trying to get in touch with my friends and my family.
How long have you been away?
And, of course, what?
How long have you been gone?
8 months.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
In Linda's house. Of course, that I also have my friends. It was a really busy year for me, the 2023, in terms of spreading the word. In fact, before coming here on 21 of January,
you guys had a conference, right?
Yeah, it was a conference, and in my case, in personal case, I dedicate to Bob because I give a lecture based on Ether. And of course, in the Spanish community, everybody knows you guys. So it was really like a memorial thing.
When can we get one of those? Can we get an Ether presentation?
Yes, I give like a Gnostic Ether. Okay. I give a little bit on one of the last summit, but I expand a little bit more.
Cool.
And not based on of course, it mixed mixing with I mix with scientific, if you want to see in that way.
Yes.
Ether, but I trying to focus more in how we can use the idea of being in touch with the cosmos, based on that medium. That is also, because we can argue all day long about what happened up there, but if you are not going to understand what is life about, you are going to become a materialist anyway.
Right.
So that was before I arrived here in Argentina, but I'm going to start a live stream this week in my my Spanish channel. My YouTube English channel was demonetized once again.
No.
So I'm gonna try. Yeah. It was demonetized 1 week ago. So I'm gonna try to be more present in Rockfin. So everyone out there that has Rockfin, if you want to follow me, it will be nice to live stream there and not be 0 people watching. So, but beside that, I'm trying to keep working on flat Earth topics.
Excellent. And what's up with you, Zachary? You're on mute possibly, or you left?
Nope, I'm here.
There we go.
Yeah, I was on mute. Button was sticking. I don't know how the button sticks on the smartphone like that. Drives me nuts.
Very weird.
But, yeah, we're going to be doing occult symbolism on the GlobeBuster Tech Show, and how it translates to some of the technology we actually have today and how it works. And I think a lot of the stuff in tech came, from old tech writing, like really old Sanskrit from India, places like that. A lot of the electrical engineers that made the world we live in today were looking into all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting how a lot of the occult symbolism is actually hiding this kind of knowledge, controlling, electricity or power or whatever you want to call it. Just really neat stuff. So that'll be Thursday at 7. And then you can always find me over on freeworld.fm, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. We're trying to get more people over there. We do it on YouTube as well. But Billy Ray Valentine, he's trying to start his own, truther platform.
Oh, nice.
Type.
He used to be on TFR with us.
Yeah, he had his own show there on TFR. He was actually trying to purchase TFR for a while, and things just fell through there. So we got him some funding and all that kind of good stuff. And I mean, he's been talking about it for years, and bless his heart, he actually did it.
Is he doing one that's a video platform?
No, it's just radio.
Oh, just radio?
Yeah. Yeah, but awesome. I know Melodome, Austin, over there on Wednesdays at 7 a.m. right after our show.
Oh, nice.
And there's a few big platforms over there that bring they have tens of thousands of people that listen to them.
And what's the website again?
freeworld.fm.
Cool.
Yeah. We're trying to get some more traffic over there, but yeah, it's slowly growing over there.
Yeah, I think really, all of us need to, I know the audiences here at YouTube, we all accept that, but it's like, start moving them elsewhere. And you can still use YouTube for your advertisements or getting new people, but can't bank on YouTube. It's going to be gone soon as far as for our line of work.
Yeah, for us. Anybody who's trying to find the truth, good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's already with YouTube. I mean, you can't find the videos. The heyday was awesome. Oh, by the way, if you want to check out Mark Sargent's most recent video, I thought it was very good. He did an interview with a girl I'm actually worried for her, to be honest with you, because was high-level Canadian military, and she actually says on the show that she knows people high up in the Canadian military that know that the Earth's flat, things like that. So definitely worth you listen if you go to, let me see if it's in here. This is most recent. And she's decorated and, highly accomplished. Let's see, is it Mark here? Yeah, this one here. So not his most recent. Sorry, this one here. Whoops, maybe it is most recent. Let me go to videos. Oh wait, it's his most recent live, maybe the easier way to find it. No, I guess it's not even live. So if you go to videos, just look for the one with the girl with lifting weights, and you can't see the screen. Sorry, bad. There you go. this one here. So her name is Dawn Dussault or something. And she's high level and great. They go through lots of topics, moon landing, stuff like that. Very high level.
The northern regions for mines, and it's just greedy people that are selfish, that really don't care about people, that are actually helping them. And like things with like malaria or health conditions, like even just giving like just proper nutrient.
So she's got and so it even you could just hear that she's definitely legit. She's not lying. And then there's pictures of her. Mark sent me some pictures too of her in various military outfits and getting wards and things like that. But she got out of it because of what's going on. And she was high level. So it's definitely worth listening to. Check that out. For me this week, busy week, I've got I don't know what we're doing for sure on a debate. It was supposed to be Caleb against Bob the science guy. But then Caleb threatened him to basically out his past history, and then he bailed. So there is an opening on Tuesday. If somebody is interested in debating, if you have two people and you want to debate, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll do something at that time slot, even if it's like a mock debate or have somebody come on and debate me live or whatever. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm on Alex Stein's show. I believe it's going to be a debate against his producer. Thursday is Speaker's Corner, which is now monthly. So it's the first Thursday of every month. So Thursday is the first Thursday. So definitely be there at 3 p.m. Try and get as many people as we can a chance to speak, and we'll have a clock and all that fun stuff. And then Friday's Jeranism show. And we do it all again. Any final words from you guys? I thought on the way out of here, we'll listen to the intro for Mount Meru too, just because I want to hear that part about Eru, since it'll probably be the last time I'll ever hear it. So we'll listen to it one more time. Say goodbye to Mount Meru 2. You can still purchase Mount Meru 2. And if you do, you get all the past events as well. So what better deal can you get than to hear Mount Meru, Equinox, Solstice? You can hear Zack's presentation. Zack did an excellent job. And I still use what Zack said all the time about the value of tomorrow. How if somebody offered to give you $10 million but said you have to die today, no one's going to take that deal. So that means tomorrow is worth more than $10 million. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
That story probably over 50 times now, Jeran. Cashiers and anybody I got a hold of for 30 seconds where they have to listen to me ramble.
It's awesome. It really does tell you that it's like one of those things too where, every minute that you look back at your children, when you look back and my son's 25 now, so I look back and I'm like, so many times you feel like, oh man, I missed time with him. I wish I would have seen that more. So now with Maverick, it's just, I always think that if I start to get mad at him or something, I just remember that in 10 years, I won't remember any of that. All I'll remember is the times I missed. That's what our memories are like. When I think back to my son, I don't think of him being bad. In fact, I thought my son was a bad kid. And if you ask me right now, like, why was he bad? I wouldn't even be able to tell you. Well, he was a little, it's like, but I remember missing time, or I remember, not seeing him do this or that. So those are the things that are important. And it just really reminds you to enjoy those little things, take advantage of family, not take advantage of them, take advantage of the time with family. Because it's going to be short-lived, and it's the same thing that happened to my mom, right? You think you have 30 years with somebody, so you don't really do much as you would like to, and then that person drops dead of a heart attack, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I wish I would have done this. I would give anything for one more day with my mom or one more day with my grandparents. That's weird to say. It's like, well, you certainly didn't take advantage of it. Huh? I didn't hear what you said.
Easily $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly. So let's head out of here. We'll listen to that intro. You guys have been great. We will see you soon. Support the show if you can. Lots of ways to do that. And then support us creators as well. I remind you guys, be kind to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind. There is truth inside. Till next time, this is the Mount Meru 2 intro, just because it's got the funny part about Eru. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Welcome, one. Welcome, all. Glad you've gathered, answered the call. In this realm where stars paint skies aglow, truth seekers journey where auroras flow. Mount Meru's peak, a cosmic stage where seekers delve beyond the cage. Presentations, music, comedy, and more. Now a preview of what's in store. David Avocado Wolf is health's vibrant sage, weaving tales of wellness on life's grand stage. J. Tolan Media captures mountain's might, infrared whispers of invisible light. Alan from Space Audits, he exposes science and its lies. Recently, he fought with relativity, till it just gave up and cried. Dr. Amanda Vollmer, helping you heal from within, is her task. I'll bet you $10 million she doesn't show up in a mask. Dr. Andrew Kaufman, truth pioneer, when germ theory was questioned, truths did appear. David Weiss, some call him the Flat Earth King, will certainly be talking about his flat Earth, sun, moon, and zodiac clock thing. Isabel Friend, with Water's Embrace. Mysteries unlocked in Liquid Grace. Iru Landucci, a Jesuit hunter by day, debunking myths, exposing lies, if you want to see it in that way. Stephen Dragon, healer of souls, he brings peace to those in need. Childhood trauma reprogramming may be what you need. Mike Stellium 7 will show us history uncovered. Truths emerge, mountains crumble as secrets are uncovered. Dr. Kelly Brogan invokes healing's might. Holistic whispers feel like truth's pure light. Justin Harvey does us proud, fighting vaccines face to face. You should have seen Scott Kelly's face when asked, why is there bubbles in space? Mike Winner brings experience. An Alpha Vedic's mind. When away from cosmic realms, he farms truths to find. Deepak's music will delight you with cosmic sound, and Founderings at the piano ready for laughs to compound. Only thing left to do is to laugh until you cry. We have the answer, and Ian Cunningham's your guy. Your hosts, Austin and Jeran, will guide you on your quest to that central mound of Mount Meru, the middle of north, east, south, and west. From the Antarctic Ring to the North Pole Center, we bring to you the best entertainment and presenters, where Earth is a plane, a realm untold. Truth we shall gather, let destiny unfold. So come, truth seekers, join us on this quest to the peak of the summit, for there we will find rest. As we sit below auroras and their magical hue, that joy and sense of wonder, well, that's Mount Meru too.